Welcome to the alternate corner, where real criminal trials take center stage and the pursuit of justice is our guiding principle. Here, we believe that every defendant is innocent unless proven guilty, and we invite you to experience the legal process as it unfolds fairly, thoroughly, and objectively. Join us as we shed light on the courtroom, uphold the presumption of innocence, and seek the truth behind every case. Subscribe to stay informed, engaged, and empowered in the world of justice.
In the original U-Haul that was being and they jumped out and got into this vehicle. Now, according to LAPD, they believe there are 4 suspects on board. You see the light flashing from time to time. That's the LAPD helicopter that is overhead. The speed has been so high, and they've been driving so erratically that the patrol cars have backed off, at least for the moment. But they're burglary suspects initially, but they're certainly going to be wanted for a lot more, traveling well over 100 miles an hour, maybe 120 on the 405 southbound, and then turning the lights off. You can imagine how dangerous that is. You're turning your headlights off. You're in a black car, traveling over 100 miles an hour on the 405 south, crossing in and out of lanes and approaching people, and they can't see you. So certainly this has the potential to cause serious injury, even death. We're seeing the individuals driving this vehicle, driving very erratically, doing their best to get away. So on the right side of your screen, that's going to be Century Boulevard. That's the 405 freeway, and they're crossing underneath the 405 freeway right now at Century. So really challenging for us because that's right where the approach course to LAX is. And it looks to me like, did the suspect get on the freeway once again? It's really hard to tell, but boy, this is an extremely dangerous pursuit.
Yeah, a recipe for disaster, especially at this hour when people are getting up, getting going.
And you can see traffic is starting to build as well, so it's going to get congested out there. And of course, that puts more people at risk with this driver. As you mentioned, Scott, driving with the headlights off in a black car, really difficult to see.
Hello, everyone. How are we? Starting a bit early today. This has happened. Well, it's not quite live because we're about 30 minutes behind, but I just thought I'd go on early because this was happening. So hope you're all doing well. This is the LAPD pursuit of burglary suspects. Hope everyone's doing well this morning. Bad Daza, how are you, fella? Hope you're doing well. Sarah P, hello, my darling. How are you? Sue, how are you? Nice to see you, my darling. If you'd like to support the channel, best way is PayPal and buy me a coffee. Thank you, Sarah P, and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. Please hit that like and subscribe. Hot Mama's here. Josie, hello, my darling. Morning, Lady Di. Afternoon, Kimmy. Morning to you, my darling. Hope everyone's doing well. So yeah, let's listen to this a little bit.
They feel like they have to because of the danger this individual is posing to the community here.
Yeah, absolutely. And crazy the coordination that was involved with this for them to get out of a U-Haul and to have another person waiting, another driver waiting, and for these suspects to jump into that car.
So this is live, but we're behind. So it might be over with by now, but it did happen this morning in LA.
to LAX. We're coming up on Manchester, and boy, you can tell the speeds go way above 100 miles an hour very quickly, very erratically. LAPD is still behind them, but boy, this is dangerous for them as well. You could tell that LAPD car, that patrol car, had to swerve to get out of the way of another vehicle, and the speeds here are extremely high, and this is extremely dangerous. It's early, but you do have a lot of people headed to LAX to catch an early flight, and this is in that LAX area. You see the indecision on the suspect there coming up on that intersection, not knowing going right or left, then making a left turn. And when you have indecision at a high rate of speed, boy, we've seen some of these things, these pursuits end very badly. We hope nobody gets hurt, but certainly you could tell how dangerous this is.
Yeah, and
now the light's on.
Yeah, we've seen this driver run multiple red lights already, and obviously the rules of the road don't matter at all.
We've also not done a car chase for ages, so when I saw this, I was like, oh no, I got to start early. We got to do a car chase because it's live. Obviously, we're not live, but we are pretty much live. Let's go.
Yeah, who knows, John? I mean, if they were that smart, this isn't where they would be. So because we can still cover it and the LAPD helicopter can still get right over them, it would be further to the east. There's an area to the east, and I wouldn't want to give it away exactly just in case someone's listening that might want to do something like that. But there are areas where the helicopter cannot follow them. This area right here, they're going to be able to stay overhead because it's just
morning, Jugs.
Parked right up.
I got your t-shirt on. Someone in North Carolina loves me.
They know about the airspace and the restrictions, but I do believe if they knew for sure, they wouldn't be here. They'd be further to the east, and that would cause more problems.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
We did see a close encounter. It came very close to one driver and managed to avoid them. That's some good news, but boy, this is going to end badly at some point if it continues at this rate.
It looks like every time they approach the intersection, they are flickering their headlights on, I guess, to maybe alert drivers, but we are seeing them fly through these red lights, yet like they just did there.
Right. And of course, as the day...
Yeah, boy, extremely high rate of speed. We're north on Florence, so we're actually pulling away from LAX at the moment. And the
it's live, but we're like, it's not live because we're about 40 minutes behind. Josie, we're 40 minutes behind the live, actual live. This is where we are. So it is live, but we're not live, if that makes sense. Hello to you, Patty. Hello, my darling. Happy birthday, Patty. Pembrokeshire happy city, Pembrokeshire happy city, Pembrokeshire happy city party, Pembrokeshire happy city. Happy birthday, Patty. Hope you have a great day, my darling. You're not late. It's only a few minutes late. I started early because of this car chase. So we are behind on this car chase, but we are not that far behind. So.
Often it's a black car. They're right through another red light. So extremely dangerous. As you mentioned, John, a lot of times when you have a suspect who's this desperate, driving at this rate of speed, if they don't give themselves up, in a lot of cases, these end badly with bad accidents and people getting killed.
And Scott, we know that the police are pursuing them. These are burglary suspects. Do we know any more details about the burglary they are accused of committing before this?
No, we don't have much on that. You have to remember this originated as a pursuit of a U-Haul, and I understand some of the cargo in that U-Haul actually fell out during the pursuit. It started, we believe, in the Newton division in that South Los Angeles area. It would have been on the 105, the 405 on surface streets here as we make our way into the South Los Angeles area. Now we're eastbound on Florence. But exactly where the burglary took place and why they're calling them burglary suspects, what information they haven't passed that on to us yet. But open up a little bit, Marcel. Looks like the patrol units have maybe backed off a bit, and they have. And the LAPD helicopter is still overhead. You can push back in so we don't lose them. But I just wanted to get an idea of whether or not they were still right on this suspect's tail. But it looks like the patrol cars have backed off. And it's interesting the way different, supervisors handle things like this. Some will say get right behind them just in case they make a run for it. These are bad individuals. We want to take them into custody. We don't want them to get away. Others will say it's too dangerous to back off. So we've seen both already in this pursuit.
And it is interesting, the coordination, Scott. You said this started with a U-Haul, 2 suspects, and then they transferred into this black sedan where 2 other suspects were waiting. It gives you the indication that this was a very coordinated, well-planned operation.
Yeah, boy, almost hit a vehicle there. You see the vehicle was darked out once again. The headlights are off. You see the brake lights come on. You see they're
Uh,
stuck behind that vehicle.
Mhm.
And boy, look, boy, they almost hit something there.
oh,
Is that a
wow.
person?
Looks like somebody got out
Oh,
maybe.
the one. I don't know. They got out. It looks like they got out. They jumped out of the vehicle. So, boy, that really makes things dicey right now because now there's 3 on board. LAPD is trying to figure out where that individual jumped out. They're going to have to try and see if they can't get patrol cars there to get him. If that was a man, it appeared to be, but it was really hard to tell. So they still believe there's 3 individuals on board this black sedan. So, boy, it becomes more and more complicated when someone jumps out of the vehicle. I believe they jumped out. It was really hard for me to tell. Marcel's got a better view than me. I thought maybe there was a pedestrian there that may have got struck, but hopefully that's not the case. But it's a foot bail for sure. So we're on Western and headed at a pretty high rate of speed still. And the helicopter will be telling the other units where the suspect got out, and more than likely they're setting up a scene there, searching for the suspect.
Yeah, more and more complicated and more concerning because also they're now starting to go in and out of residential areas. It looks like if that suspect bailed, that looked like that was on a home where people are living, a residential area. And we don't want, people to be out walking their dogs, getting out ready for work and school as these guys fly back.
Yeah. Especially now, a lot of the time by LAX, we didn't have what we have right now. And you have people getting up, they're getting out, they're going to work. Maybe it's a little early to get your kids up and go to school, but you know what I'm talking about. You can see you hit a bump there at a high rate of speed, could lose control of that vehicle very, very quickly. And what we are seeing is the suspect drive through a residential area, just like you mentioned, Rachel. And boy, it's really dangerous when situations like this. So it wouldn't surprise me if they get patrol cars behind him once again here very quickly. You could tell the suspect sort of driving around in circles. A lot of times we wonder, are they going to a place that they're familiar with to maybe make a run for it or go into their house or somebody's house, something like that. They have coordinated this a little bit. Remember, it was in a U-Haul, 2 suspects jumping out of the U-Haul, getting inside this black sedan after the pursuit with the U-Haul. That was at the Randy's Donuts on Manchester. And we're back in the proximity of where it started. We're back in the Newton Division. We're in South Los Angeles on Western at 50th. So it could be the suspects are familiar with this area. It's possible.
Yeah, that's usually what we see, Scott. They circle back to a neighborhood they know. Maybe they drop somebody off so they can go hide in the house or somewhere like that. And then maybe they'll do more of that as they continue to drive in this area. Any idea what kind of speeds we're looking at right now?
The speeds right now, I mean, just from a guess, looks like 50, 60 miles an hour on some of those intersections. But there's a speed tracker, and you're going to see it goes up pretty quickly. That vehicle accelerates. Look at that. Probably going to go up above 80, close to 90 miles an hour. This is on Vernon, headed westbound. Boy, look at that, 100 miles an hour on the surface streets, flying past that bus. If somebody pulls out in front of them, we're going to be seeing someone killed more than likely. That's how dangerous this is. I think they backed off. I don't think you're going to see patrol cars driving on Vernon at 100 miles an hour to stay behind this vehicle. I just don't think they'll do that. It's too dangerous for the public to have more than one vehicle doing something like this. It's too dangerous for the officers to try and stay behind him when he's driving at speeds over 100 miles an hour on surface streets. So right now they have the helicopter overhead. They're in tracking mode. It's unfortunate, even when they do back off, though, the suspect continues to drive at a high rate of speed. A lot of times what we see is when the patrol cars back off, the suspect sort of looks in the rearview mirror and says, okay, nobody's behind me. Watch out behind that tree. Try and get me around it. It may make a run for it right here. It looks like they stopped to me. No, maybe someone got out. They stopped. They were behind that tree. I don't know why they would stop like that. That's possible. We didn't see that because that's been their pattern. It looks like one at a time. Maybe they're going to be leaving this vehicle. It was hard to tell, but the suspect did stop.
So, CG, this commentator was like, he's in the wrong area. He should be heading east. If they head east, then we can't access all the areas. But I'm not going to tell you what area in the east. But basically, if he goes the east, we can't track them. I'm like, dude, fucking hell. Do you tell all these people just go head east? Do you know what I mean? So that's why there are places in Los Angeles in the east part, allegedly, that they can't film and chase you. So, I mean, thanks to this broadcast of telling us that.
overhead. Certainly makes it much more dangerous, though, when you come into a dark patch of roadway and the motorists can't see you. They can't see that you're lit up. But that was another person that jumped out. We couldn't see it, but we got it from LAPD that two suspects have jumped out of this black sedan. I believe there's still two more on board. It could just be one. It's hard to get all the details exactly right, but we do appear to be in an area the suspect may be familiar with, because now we're going down just these small little streets in this residential area in South Los Angeles.
And with two suspects on foot, Scott, and a pursuit still underway, this really does spread police resources, because they've got to set up a perimeter for each of these incidents.
It's really difficult, John, because, a lot of times, let's just say patrol cars are right behind the vehicle. Somebody jumps out, they take them into custody pretty quickly. But when you only have the helicopter overhead and they're driving so erratically, the patrol cars aren't going to be behind the suspect because it's just too dangerous. When they do make a run for it in some of these spots, it's a while before the patrol cars actually get there. LAPD and the helicopter says, hey, we got a suspect jumped at this location, but the patrol cars are spread out trying to get an idea where to go, where this individual's going, and they're not right behind them. So that limits how quickly they can get these suspects into custody, but that's just the chance you take. In some case, you're looking at taking the suspect into custody if you're right behind the vehicle and they make a foot bail, they jump out, but it's too dangerous. So if you back off, it does favor the suspect a little bit if they jump out in one of these dark corners. I thought maybe they slowed to get it behind that tree, but it does not appear to be the case. So it does make it challenging for the police at this point in time. A lot of resources. We haven't heard any information that the other two suspects who bailed out of this vehicle are in custody.
And to your point, Scott, even though those patrols have pulled back, that has not changed the behavior of this driver.
Yeah.
They are still driving erratically, going through red lights, driving at dangerously high speeds. Is it because they still feel that spotlight on them from the police helicopter?
It could be. I don't think the LAPD helicopter overhead is going to back off, though. I think they're going to keep them in sight. They're going to keep the light on them so they can see what happens. If they do make another stop and somebody gets out, they'll be able to see that. Even if it's behind a tree or in a situation where they're blocked by a building, at least they'll have light on the suspect. But at these types of speeds, I do not believe patrol cars are going to pursue, regardless of.
Oh,
okay. Maybe they are. We're hearing some information. They might try and put units back in position. It'll be interesting, but I don't see patrol cars pursuing these suspects at over 100 miles an hour on the surface streets. We'll just have to wait and see here. But boy, was that a red light? Yeah. Right through that red light. Somebody could really get seriously injured or killed here easily.
When we talk about the coordination too, again, having that driver waiting for them, having their lights turned off, dropping off suspects behind trees, it almost gives you the idea they have some experience in this. But we'll never know.
Well, we've had so many burglary operations in the past few months, and a lot of them
look at that.
Professional in many ways.
Did they hit that vehicle?
It looks like they did. Came close, that's for sure. But yeah, as you mentioned, Scott,
this is coming up on the 110. It's coming up on the 110. Boy, that was close, though. In the oncoming traffic, trying to swerve to get away from that traffic and continue to move. And then at that point in time, they were able to get through, it appeared, without hitting anybody. That was the 110 freeway behind you. This is on Broadway now, and it looks like the vehicle is traveling northbound, if I'm not mistaken, on Broadway, headed up towards downtown Los Angeles.
And then if the driver's behavior doesn't change, it makes you wonder, should the patrols,
Yeah, should they just stay on it?
Stay on it.
It's not changing anything, But certainly we've.
So these streams, they're quite good. They don't yank you, so you're okay with these ones normally. Yesterday, I had to delete all my coverage. Not all my coverage, all the videos from 48 hours. They shut my stream down fully after the stream finished, so I had to edit them all out before they allowed me to repost it, as in leave it up, bastards. But yeah. But thanks for the reminder, though. This way up, sometimes it's good just to speak over it anyway,
Comes to something like that. But we are seeing more and more traffic out on the roadway. If you notice, There we go. A lot of LAPD vehicles in
Right.
that intersection, and now they're right on his tail once again. It'll be interesting to see what happens if the suspect gets up to the 100-mile-an-hour speeds again. But boy, they really want to get this stopped. They realize how dangerous this is to the public. They realize an innocent person could be injured or killed very easily when you have somebody driving this erratically, and they want this over. So right now you have patrol cars behind them. Could you bring up the speed tracker? I think the speeds are getting very high once again. Yeah, you talk about 80 miles an hour on surface streets with
Right.
vehicles around. I think the LAPD is probably going to back off here in a moment. I'd be surprised if they start driving 100 miles an hour behind them.
Yeah, and it is getting congested out there. This driver is having to slow down for traffic. And let's just hope it doesn't end with him driving into somebody else.
Yeah, making that turn right there. If somebody would be coming the other way, they would have just ran right into him. We're on Main once again. Headed northbound up towards downtown Los Angeles. Patrol cars right behind them still, but boy, speeds are extremely high on these surface streets. You talk about 100 miles an hour on the freeway, that's one thing. You talk about it, in these surface streets around here, that's something altogether different.
Yeah, we're
We're in
tensing
a
up
neighborhood
every
where
time you
it's
go
dark.
through these intersections. Yeah, right. In that dark street right there.
It's the thrill thing, isn't it? Josie's a thrill seeker.
Well, look at that. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about inches from being run into, it looked like right there. LAPD still right behind, swerving in and out of some of these streets. We're in South LA, 54th, just came off Broadway, now headed eastbound, I believe. And there's going to be, westbound. There's crossing over the 110 freeway. But you could tell the night sun is lit up. The night sun from the LAPD helicopter is doing a great job. That's not easy to keep the light right on the vehicle.
And Scott, this driver has had opportunities to get back on the freeway, but it does appear in the last 20 minutes or so since we've been watching this that they have chosen to stay in South LA. Is that right?
That's correct. I mean, we were in Westchester earlier. It started in this area, approximately in the Newton Division. It was on the 105 freeway, on the 405, then got off in that area around LAX on the surface streets, and then came eastbound into this area south of Los Angeles. Two people have already jumped out of that vehicle. That's what we believe, two suspects. It could be just driving around trying to find another opportunity for the other person, the third person. Not the driver, but we believe there's two on board to also make a run for it if they can get to a spot where it's dark like the other spots and somebody could jump out real quickly and police aren't right behind them. That may be the strategy. I mean, it's impossible to know for sure, but we've been on the freeway a couple of times, but most of this has been on surface streets, and it gets more and more concerning as we get more and more motorists out on the roadway. We get a little later in the morning, and even, start getting your kids ready to go to school here in a little bit. Right now, it's not really the case, but you see the school buses are out, and the erratic driving is really a huge concern.
And as Scott mentioned, this happened or started around 5:15. That's when our coverage started. It started with two suspects in a
Whoa, whoa,
U-Haul.
whoa.
Oh, that's close. Two suspects in a U-Haul, burglary suspects, who then transferred into this black sedan with two other suspects. Since then, two suspects have jumped out of the vehicle, have disappeared into the neighborhood as far as we know. And we now have two suspects in this black sedan still driving in this area with the lights out, incredibly high speeds at times, very dangerous conditions. And it's getting more crowded on our roads and
surprising
highways,
somebody
and that
else
just
gets
makes
out.
it even more dangerous for everyone involved.
Yeah, and the patrol cars have backed off for the most part. I mean, it was just too reckless. You could tell, you got 4 or 5 patrol cars behind this vehicle, and he's turning in front of other cars, running through red lights, almost hit someone at one of these intersections. We're on 60th headed westbound in South Los Angeles right now. Unclear if maybe the suspect's looking for another spot where it's dark to let another person out of that vehicle or not. But they have backed off with the patrol cars for the moment, which really seems like a good strategy in my opinion. You don't need patrol cars doing 100 miles an hour trying to keep up with him on these streets. That's just an added danger in my opinion. But the suspect is in an area where they're just now starting to go around in circles. This is an area where we believe approximately the pursuit started when it was in the U-Haul. So it may be an area they're familiar with. We see that a lot.
Yeah, and a lot of times this is about the time where we start to see that fatigue set in, and those drivers decide, I won't win this, and they decide to get out and give themselves up to police. But it does not seem to be the case with these two suspects, we presume, in this car right now.
Yeah, another thing that happens if the vehicle stays in an area long enough, like in this one area here in South Los Angeles, keeps going on to the same streets, and the helicopter is giving the radio calls what direction and what street the vehicle's on, they start to think about spike strips. They start to think about hiding somewhere and throwing them out. But you sort of have to, initiate, or you have to sort of figure out where you think the suspect's going to be, and then you can get a spike strip officer set up to throw out the spike strip. We're hearing a little conversation on the scanner about that. So that could very well happen depending if the suspect heads to an area that they're prepared for, or it continues to stay in the same area. That'll allow LAPD officers to get a strategy together and block some of these intersections, or get an officer in the intersection hiding, and then when the vehicle comes by, they throw out the spike strip. That would be a great way to stop this as well. Hopefully they can get something like that going, or if the suspect gives up before somebody really gets seriously injured or hurt.
And as Scott mentioned, it looks like police, at least on the ground, have backed off a little bit so they don't provoke this driver to go even faster. The helicopter remains overhead. You can see the spotlight on the vehicle, tracking that vehicle. And again, weaving in and out of traffic, driving at a high rate of speed, staying in that same general area where those two other suspects were dropped off earlier, 15, 20 minutes ago. And we do still have two suspects driving around with the lights off as police follow from above.
Yeah, we're north on Crenshaw now, and you can tell how much faster that vehicle is going than the other vehicles in the intersection, so you really get an idea of the speed. And there's a speed tracker, so, at one time we had over 100 miles an hour on a surface street, and right now you can tell the vehicle is really accelerating. It wouldn't surprise you to see 100 miles an hour once again northbound on Crenshaw. So if you continue to take Crenshaw all the way up, you're going to travel all the way to 10, the Santa Monica Freeway, and up into Mid-City. It'll be interesting to see. But when the suspect stays on one street for a long stretch of time, it does allow LAPD officers to get in position. Now, they've gotten off on the Mert, it's a little street that merges off of Crenshaw, and then I think it's going to turn into Vernon, if I'm not mistaken. And now they made a turn on Vernon. They're headed back eastbound. So Vernon and 11th, we're seeing a pattern now, staying in the certain area, South Los Angeles, Exhibition Park. That seems to be the area where the suspect has been now, I'd say, for the last 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes or so.
And a good Wednesday morning to all of our viewers joining us here at 6 a.m. I'm Rachel Brown here with John Gregory. Tony Cabrera is off, and Scott Reif is following breaking news right now.
And we've been following this pursuit for about an hour now. Initially, it started with two suspects in a U-Haul, burglary suspects that police were chasing in South LA. Those two suspects then moved into a black sedan with two other suspects, four suspects. Since that time, two suspects have jumped out. Police now looking for them, and they continue to pursue this black sedan with at least two suspects inside. Let's get the latest with Scott Reif.
Right underneath the southbound, you see.
Scott, what is the latest that you're seeing?
Yeah, John. Well, southbound now on Arlington, slowing down a bit. Oh boy, look at that. Look, there it is. We knew something like this was going to happen. Now we have a collision. Hopefully nobody was hurt. We believe there's two on board. Maybe just one. Maybe we missed another person getting out. But now you have the suspect running on foot, southbound on Arlington. Patrol cars right behind him. They're going to have this individual into custody here in a moment. There is just no way that individual is going to get out. They're going behind a home now. So, hey, if you live in this area off Arlington and 48th Street in South Los Angeles, you never know with a suspect that is this desperate if they could try and, take a hostage. You come inside your house, keep the doors and windows locked if you can. You hear the helicopter overhead. You're going to see the patrol cars swarming this area, and we're going to try and keep that suspect in sight. But that was a pretty violent collision. We certainly hope that the individual that was struck in that car was not hurt. But certainly a collision like that could cause, a lot of injuries. I don't know where that vehicle ended up. There it is right there. You can see fire units are going to respond, paramedics are going to respond, and we believe the suspect is behind one of these homes right here off 2nd Avenue and 48th in the Hyde Park area.
We can see those lights flashing. I can see some patrol units nearby. So hopefully within the matter of the next few minutes, this suspect will be taken into custody.
Yeah, it looks like patrol units on both sides of the block there. So they do have personnel in place, and more personnel obviously on the way as we speak.
It did appear, too, that the driver that was involved in that collision with the pursuit suspect, I believe I saw them opening their driver door. And so we hope, again, that driver is okay. But we knew something like this was going to happen.
Yeah, it seemed inevitable with the speeds that they were driving at, as recklessly as the suspect was driving. Now, remember, it's hard to get completely accurate information. We thought four suspects were on board that vehicle, the black sedan. We saw two get out, or we heard specifically that two got out. We thought two were left, but another person may have gotten out, or maybe there was only three to begin with. Sometimes it's really, go ahead and show it to me. It's really difficult to process the information and get it accurate all the time. Can you show me? Oh, there we go. Look at this. Here's the accident. Great job, Marcel. It doesn't appear that it's that violent. We're rewinding it. That's awesome. It hit the front of that vehicle. God forbid it didn't broadside it. If that would have happened, boy, somebody could have been killed very easily. There's a good look at the suspect. We're going to come back out to the live shot, and this is the area where now they're searching for that one suspect, and I'm sure they will find him. There was patrol cars all around this area. They've shut down or made a perimeter around all of the streets surrounding where this occurred, and certainly it was a violent collision, but it did appear. Can we find that vehicle in our live shot where it ended up right there? Yeah, boy, I tell you, just a couple of feet, right? That vehicle's coming southbound. The other vehicle's going eastbound. It hit the front of that vehicle instead of broadsiding it right on the side. That would have been, really dangerous for the driver. That, driver space intrusion type accident. It looks like they're up and walking around. So if they are injured, it doesn't appear that they have critical injuries. So that is good news.
Suspect at last check, that person was in a backyard of one of these homes here that police are now moved in to try and surround. But we really haven't seen that person since that time, Scott. It looks like the same general area that they're looking at. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think they set up a perimeter pretty quickly, and they know basically within this block that the suspect's behind one of these homes. It's dark in the back, but they're going to just go ahead and set up a perimeter, keep an eye on everything so the suspect can't get out. And then at some point, they'll probably bring in the canine if they can't find them quickly. And a lot of times they look for an instance like somebody walking in the backyard and a motion light coming on. I saw a motion light come on there a moment ago, but that might have been just the LAPD shining their light down the alleyway. But it appears you can tell the perimeter they've set up. The suspect is somewhere in here. It's really unlikely that he's going to get away. They set up a perimeter, and then they slowly have to just start a search of each one of these backyards. The canines will be en route if they're not here already, because they certainly are the best tool to search for individuals that are hiding.
And Scott, for our viewers who are watching who live in this community, can you tell us what the intersection is? What streets that we need to be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I think it was 48th, if I'm not mistaken. Can you go up to where the accident was, Marcel? Bring up Arlington and 52nd, if we can bring up Sky Map. But Arlington and 52nd, that's basically just south of that intersection. That's 48th in Arlington, actually.
Yeah. Okay, so if you live in this neighborhood, keep your doors locked. Is the suspect still at large? For all we know, he hasn't been apprehended just yet.
And we still have two other at least suspects wandering around these neighborhoods too. So yeah, the general area, people need to be concerned and need to be alert, because we may have multiple suspects in neighborhoods and wandering around neighborhoods who could be dangerous.
Yeah, the other two suspects were quite some distance from this, though. So the two that we saw, one behind a tree, and then the one was way south and west of here. But there'll be a search there as well. But you can see how much more difficult it is, John and Rachel, when you don't have a patrol car behind the suspect and a suspect jumps out. You just don't have the resources to take that suspect into custody, like the two that jumped. When this happens and the patrol cars are right behind the vehicle, then they were able to swarm this area with patrol cars and set up a perimeter. So it's going to be much easier to catch this individual, the suspect, I believe, than it will be to catch the other two that jumped out when no patrol cars were behind them.
And Scott, do you have eyes on the suspect? And are you seeing any officers on foot? I haven't seen any officers on foot yet.
Well, they're setting up a perimeter. They've got the night sun overhead. We do not have eyes on the suspect. We lost the suspect when he went into the back of a home, and then more than likely, he's just jumping fences and trying to get as far away as possible. I think it was more to the right. The original home that we saw was right in there. That's where the suspect initially jumped. He ran through.
It doesn't look like he has any gloves or anything on, so his fingerprints are going to be all over the steering wheel probably anyway. So they're going to be able to find him after the fact, surely, no matter what, even if he escapes.
There. but we really don't have the suspect pinpointed.
Yeah, and visibility has been an issue throughout this chase, not just because it's dark, but because this driver has been driving without the headlights, which made it incredibly dangerous for everybody. And of course, it ended with a traffic collision. So that has been a problem. Some daylight would certainly help police in their search efforts.
Yeah, we're getting some information. They might have eyes on the suspect next to a red truck and a yellow motorcycle. We just get things over the scanner, and that's sort of what we're hearing. So it's hard to say how far the suspect could have got away from that crash site, running through backyards, jumping over fences, but they set up a pretty big perimeter. And we're just basically looking around with a camera to see if we can find some of the indicators like that red truck, motorcycle, because they believe the suspect was in that area. There's a motion light, push in there. A lot of times that's what we see. You got a suspect in the backyard and a motion light comes on. It could be residents too, because the residents, when they hear all this noise and the helicopter, they come out and they're looking around. But that was suspicious, I would say, that the light just came on all of a sudden in that backyard.
And during this hour-long pursuit, we also believe that 2 other suspects bailed at some point. And when that happened, those drivers or those people were concealed a bit behind trees. And it almost gives you the sense that this driver may have had some strategy involved, driving without the headlights on.
The whole operation seemed very coordinated.
Yeah.
As Scott mentioned, it started with the U-Haul with 2 suspects who then rendezvoused, it looks like, with this black sedan, possibly with 2 more suspects. Then they got into this very long chase. And then the drivers went around that neighborhood over and over again before dropping off 2 suspects. So it seemed very coordinated. It seems like maybe these people have experience doing this sort of thing. But boy, unfortunately, at this point, it does not look like anybody's been hurt, but it could have been much worse.
Yeah, it could have been deadly.
Yeah, I was certainly fortunate that accident. I mean, we don't know yet if anybody was hurt. I'd be surprised if they weren't, minor injuries, because that was a pretty serious collision there. But they were able to get out and walk out of their vehicle. It's hard to say. You get hit like that, boy, that's quite the jolt, and that'll really get your attention. And hopefully they're not hurt at all, right? There's no injuries whatsoever. But it's hard to tell for sure. That was a pretty violent collision. It could have been much worse though. Fortunately, it hit the front of that vehicle and didn't hit it on the side where the driver's side was. And you could tell when the night sun is on, this is the area where they believe the suspect may be. But it's really difficult to set up a perimeter and then get enough resources in here. You got about a block and a half to make sure the individual doesn't get away. So we did hear they may be hiding next to a red truck. We're looking around, we're trying to find them, but as of right now, we have not been able to find the suspect. There is a red truck on the curb there. There was some talk about a motorcycle, a yellow motorcycle. So we may be in the right spot right here.
Yeah, the daylight would certainly assist police, though, in finding the suspect.
Scott, is there any word on the suspect vehicle? I'm guessing it's stolen. Do we know?
No word on that whatsoever. The U-Haul, I think we might have had original information. The U-Haul came back stolen, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was the case. Yes, it was stolen, the U-Haul. The vehicle that the suspects fled into, the black sedan that was in the accident, we didn't get any update on that, whether it was stolen or not, but it'd be kind of silly if it's your own vehicle to try and get the suspects in and drive away, because they have the plates and they pretty much have you. But that's hard to tell, John.
And early on in the chase, we saw that suspect hitting dangerous speeds on the freeway. But I'd say the last 30, 40 minutes or so, they seem to primarily stay in this South Los Angeles area, which gives us the impression that maybe there's some familiarity there. And we believe, again, 2 other suspects were dropped off at some point at the end of this pursuit.
And that's
I think the most chilling aspect was speeds over 100 miles an hour on the surface streets. I mean, that's just frightening. You see the ambulance is headed there. We pan to the right a little bit. We're trying to keep an eye on where maybe the suspect will be found, but that's where the collision occurred, and it looks like an ambulance is heading that way. So more than likely, it's hard to say if anybody was seriously injured. They're the vehicle right there, the white vehicle that was hit. You see the damage to the front, but paramedics are going to check them out and make sure they're okay. And then the one suspect is still off to the left there. There's a suspect vehicle that swerved out of control once it hit the other vehicle in that intersection. And then, of course, that appeared to be a man, made a run for it down into this area right here. There's the ambulance en route right now, trying to make sure if anybody was injured, they get some treatment.
And that suspect, when he left the vehicle, looked like he was wearing all dark clothing. Again, we believe it's a man.
Yep.
All dark clothing, again, making it difficult to keep an eye on them in these visibility issues, the dark conditions. But that's the area where we last saw the suspect, into one of those backyards. And now police have fanned out around this neighborhood. They've set up a perimeter on both sides, on both streets. And they're now working to coordinate and search those yards, which is difficult and dangerous too. We don't know if this person is armed. We don't know what their history is. So a difficult job ahead for police.
Yeah, there's the red vehicle. Marcel, can we bring up the sky map and open up a little bit? I want to give people a little perspective on where this is. So you've got 2nd, you've got Arlington, you've got 3rd, and you've got north of 52nd and south of 48th. So if you live in that area, that whole area they're searching right now. It looks like they didn't initially take the suspect into custody. We can take that off now. And so now they're just sort of focusing their attention off of 2nd. There's the red pickup truck. We think we heard them talk about the suspect maybe in that area. You see a lot of patrol cars have swerved into this area, and then you also see the night sun from the LAPD helicopter lighting things up. But boy, the canine units, I'm sure, are en route. That is the most effective tool to try and find somebody who might be hiding in behind a home like this.
And for our viewers who are just watching, just tuning in, for about the last hour and a half or so, we have been following this pursuit. These were burglary suspects, and at about 6 o'clock this morning, that suspect ended up getting into a crash with another vehicle and getting out, running away. Right now, police are in pursuit of him on foot. We haven't seen that suspect, though, in about 15 minutes or so. And that is what we're watching right now, closely watching and monitoring. And people who are living in this area, Scott just gave us perspective of this neighborhood and these intersections. You'll want to keep your doors locked, and you're going to want to stay on alert because we believe that suspect is on foot trying to hide from police right now.
Yeah, no question about that. I think we might have the accident once again to re-rack and show you. We're actually working on it. We'll have that in a couple of moments. And it was a violent collision. It appeared that the vehicle that the suspect vehicle hit, everyone on board appeared to be initially okay. But, you're in shock initially. You may get out of the vehicle and then you realize, my arm is broken. I mean, things like that do happen. You just don't notice the pain when you are just slammed out of nowhere by a vehicle. And the fire department is there now. But it could have been worse. It hit the front of that vehicle instead of broadsided it. If it had broadsided it, then the driver really would have had a tough time, and that injuries, I think, would have been severe. But this appears to be the home that they're focusing their attention on. I believe we have that video now we could show you. And this is the pursuit as it ended. You see the suspect vehicle traveling at a really high rate of speed, slowed down a little, fortunately, for this intersection, but going through a red light, and then boom, tapped the front of that vehicle. Can you imagine if it would have broadsided it? It just hit the front, but it could have been a lot worse. So we had that vehicle. It looked like at least one, maybe two people on board the white car that was hit by the suspect. And then keep it rolling for a moment. You see the suspect, there he is, all dark clothes. The vehicle starts to roll, grabs his sweater, and makes a run for it down the street here, and then runs into a backyard. Now, LAPD had a light over him from the helicopter pretty quickly, but boy, it gets extremely difficult to keep an eye on a suspect like this once they get, behind and into a backyard. So that was what happened at the end of the pursuit. Say again, Marcel? Now we're back out to the live shot. So the suspect's in here somewhere. It can be really difficult, if you don't set up a perimeter big enough and fast enough. Every now and then, someone will get out of the perimeter. It's not very likely. We don't see it very often. More than likely, they're going to get the suspect. But it can be difficult if the suspect's able to run across the street and nobody sees them, and then get into another neighborhood or another block over, and then that's outside of their perimeter. We don't believe that's the case. We believe they're going to find them in this area. We'll bring up Sky Map one more time because it is important. If you live in this area, you're south of 48th, between 2nd and Arlington, basically. Keep your doors and windows locked. This is a suspect that was willing to do anything to get away from police officers, and he's desperate, and we don't know if he's armed. We don't know if he could take a hostage. We don't know if he'd break into a home. So just keep that in mind. You're awake if you live in this area. There's helicopters overhead. The LAPD's low, the lights, the sirens. You certainly know something is going on. And if you're watching now, you know exactly what it is. But keep your doors and windows locked. Don't allow any opportunity for the suspect to maybe get inside your house.
And Scott, you mentioned this earlier. We often have this debate about pursuits and whether police should follow closely, whether they should back off. The downside in this case, when they do back off, it does give suspects an opportunity to get loose, to sneak off into the dark, and police can't get there quick enough on foot to track them down. And we believe that may have happened at least 2 times with this pursuit. And now we have a third suspect, at least a third suspect, maybe 4, still out there as well.
That's a trade-off, you know. I mean, you are balancing safety to the community versus getting a hardened criminal in custody. And, you know, how are you exactly going to balance those two? I think backing off, in my opinion, on a vehicle traveling over 100 miles an hour on surface streets in a residential area is a good strategy, because the main thing is we just don't want anybody to get seriously injured or killed in these pursuits. And if they don't catch this guy today, they're going to catch him later, right? I mean, that's the way I see it. I know not everybody sees it the same way, but I think it's a smart strategy not to pursue a suspect at 100 miles an hour in a residential area.
Yeah, and to your point, Scott, we know adrenaline can mask injuries, but also he did look quite able as he got out of that vehicle and started running. So that's why we just want our viewers to be on alert. And fortunate for this driver that obviously he's okay, and it appears that the victims that he hit might be okay too, because this could have been an extremely deadly incident at the rate of speeds that he was traveling in.
Scott, we're going to break away for now. I know you're overhead, and we'll be checking back with you. We want to get to some other news and also check with Leslie Lopez, get a look at weather. But again, this is a story we'll be covering throughout the morning.
Yeah, thank you so much, Scott. A scary way to start the day for many drivers this morning. Good morning to you again. It's
okay. There's no other updates from that. They just go back into, they don't show any more coverage. Hello. Let's pause that bad boy. Now, it might be worth sticking around here for a bit. So, what's happening, everyone? Marky, hello to you. Amy, nice to see you, my darling. Thank you for helping me. I just want to say hello to Mel. She keeps... Well, anyway, I just want to say hello to her. I've not seen her for ages, so I hope she's doing well. Hope you're well, Amy, as well. And, yeah, I just want to try and get in touch with Hate Evil. I'm doing well, thank you very much. I'm doing even better now. All you ladies in the chat, hello to you all. And the love of my life is here as well. There she is. I did not know I was going to find my love of my life right here, right now, but I just did. So nice to meet her as well. That was interesting. So I started the stream early. Thank you. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate you, my darling. Thank you. So yes, so there's that. So I started earlier than I expected. I will bring this down, but I will keep it for my own library. What's good for camera? I'm just gonna go through some stuff, Spacey. So not that much good. We're gonna start off with a video from yesterday for the Dale Warner update to see where you all are with that. So I'll play that first, and we'll just jump around. Jump around a little bit. I do not believe I'll be streaming tomorrow. I'm gonna be out a lot tomorrow. Hey, do you know what I just found? Right, I don't know why I just found it, but something dropped by my foot, and I was like, "What the fuck's that?" It's this. You can't read it. It's one of my Lush soaps. Oh, it's freaking gorgeous. I thought I'd run out. It was in like an intervention. I had a shower this afternoon, and I use another soap and not this. But yeah, Lush. It's called Now Fairy. Snow Fairy. It's called Snow Fairy. It's called. That's nice. It's really, really nice. It's really girly. But I'm a girl. When it comes to smells, I'm a girl. Oh, that's delicious. Delicious. Hippie Chick, how are you, my darling? Nice to see you. As always. Hippie Chick's just coming in from the streets. So that means Spacey Stacey will be in here at some point. The streets are busy. Lady Di has been in here this morning already. So yeah, listen. Again, I don't know what it is, but we got another attractive one here. Let me put this up for you people, just so you can get an update on Dale Warner from yesterday. Whilst I do that and get the section ready, Hippie Chicks reminded me. Hippie chick, lady die, Spacey Stacy, walking those streets all night. You go, ladies, come and see what's going on now. Let's go, girls. So we've seen two of them. It's just Spacey Stacy to go. I've been working. I know you've been busy working. It's tough when you if you're like Hippie Chick, you got like 20 streams going, and you got to do your own work and stuff like that. I know. You always pop in though. I appreciate you. Right, let's go. So another attractive one, Dale Warner. Here we go.
Day one of the Dale Warner murder trial is in the books. I'm Melissa Andrews. I'm an investigative and crime
Melissa Andrews. Remember that? She's nice.
reporter. This is Troy.
Hi, Troy. Hi, Troy.
He's working on web stuff for us during this trial. So a lot happened today. There was some business to get finished before jury selection started. The prosecution offered Dale Warner a last-minute plea deal for second-degree murder and tampering with evidence. They said.
So I did some research on this. If you get second-degree murder, you're still facing life in prison. You could still, it's up to the judge, discretion of the judge. So Dale Warner was like, what was he, 58, 57, 58, 59? He's definitely going to get a minimum of 30 years, plus he's got 10 years for tampering. And it can be anything up to life in prison. Now, if they came to him and offered him 20 years or 30 years, whatever, he still probably turns it down. But to say, just go for murder 2 and roll the dice, he's not going to do that. He may as well just go to trial. That's just a stupid deal. That's not even a plea deal. The only way that's going to be a successful plea deal is if he is in prison till he's 88 or something. He believes he's going to last till he's 90 or something. He's still going to be alive when he's 90. It's like, it's not even a plea deal. So it's totally worthless. That was just a check a box. I've got to smell this again. Oh, beautiful.
That they did this after conversation with Dee Warner's children. He immediately declined that deal. The next order of business was talking about witness sequestration. So that means that during the course of this trial, they don't want any witnesses to see testimony of other witnesses that would influence their testimony. So Dee Warner's brother, Greg Hardy, and her nephew, Parker Hardy, were in the courtroom this morning. However, they are listed as 2 of the 68 potential witnesses during this trial. So it was decided that they had to leave and they could not stay for jury selection or any portion of the trial before their testimony. And that would be the case for anyone who is on the witness list. So after that, we got started with jury selection. We counted about 50 people that were initially brought in this first group. We got through 28 of them.
Fucking. So there's 700 potential jurors. 700. And they brought 15 yesterday. And they went through 28. Fuck.
Today, and here's how it shook out. And they were also questioned one by one, which was more tedious, but that's what was requested by both the defense and the prosecution. 17 men, 11 women, 16 of the 28 were dismissed for cause. 10 of those 16 because they said they had already formed an opinion that Dale Warner was guilty and they didn't feel that they could be impartial on that decision. 3 people said that they thought they were in or were in the Justice for Dee Facebook group. This is a Facebook group that was formed when Dee was missing, and it very heavily, obviously the purpose was to find Dee, and then it took on more life when Dale was charged and then when Dee's body was found. So The defense said this was an issue for these people who were in this group because it's an advocacy group, it's an anti-Dale Warner group. So they wanted these potential jurors dismissed. The prosecution disagreed and said, well, there is no rule right now that we can dismiss or should dismiss potential jurors who are in this Justice for D Facebook group. The defense said, well, there should be a rule. It's a still active page. There was a previous post about a stealth juror basically asking people to go in for jury selection and say that they were unbiased just to get a seat on the jury. And then the defense also said that there were even posts in the page today from the courtroom. So she said it was very active and these people should not be considered because of the discussion that's been going on in there for years. And it was really interesting because as these people were coming in, the defense was checking their names to see if they were in that Facebook group. So that was interesting. The judge said he was going to give this issue some more thought and render a decision on that late today. That did not happen. So day one is wrapped up. Jury selection starts Wednesday at 10:30.
So that's today at 10:30. So that's tedious. 28 in one day. Woof. And just a reminder, they both got 18 strikes each. I hate it when I go that zoom in. 18 strikes each for the prosecution and the defense. I do agree with the defense here. They should, if you're in the advocacy group, you shouldn't be on the jury. You know, you should be dismissed straight away. It's not really fair. Right, hang on. So that's where we are with the Dale Warner thing. It's going to take 2 weeks, and as I say, I don't know if we're going to cover it. And my guess is we're probably not going to cover it, if I'm being honest, because it's supposed to last about 7 weeks. And lasting 7 weeks is, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what's around, you know. So nothing we can do about that. Yesterday there was, you've all probably seen this, but yesterday there was a bond hearing for the TikTok girl, Sarah Grace Patrick. So we'll watch the conclusion of that, just so you're all up to date in case you didn't get opportunity to see it. So
it does oppose bond in this case. There's no enough bonds with me to know. I follow a particular protocol when I go through my bonds. I always start with the case history. We're talking about an incident date of February 20th of 2025. That is less than 12 months ago. An arrest date on this.
Oh, why is it going like that? Oh, I don't know why it's gone like that. Let me refresh it.
Judge, the state does oppose bond in this case. There's no enough bonds with me to know. I follow a particular protocol when I go through my bonds. I always start with the case history. We're talking about an incident date of February 20th of 2025. That is less than 12 months ago. An arrest date on this case was July 8th of 2025. This case went before the grand jury August 19th of 2025. We had a bond hearing on August 19th of 2025 as well, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. The trial court date on this case is set for August 3rd of this year, which is less than 1 calendar year from indictment. That is incredibly fast. Opposing counsel did mention the additional time based on the continuance that for all intents and purposes had to be granted. That is not a consideration for the court. The court's structure in regards to this is pretty straightforward. There is no material change in the circumstances of the defendant. That's where we are. I'm going to read from that bond order on August 19th of 2025. After hearing evidence presented regarding the defendant's motion for bond, this court finds the defendant is a risk to flee the jurisdiction, not appear for future court appearances. The defendant is a risk to influence witnesses. The defendant is a threat to the community and family members as testified to at defendant's hearing regarding bond. Through all of the testimony and argument we have heard today, there has been nothing to dispute that fact. If anything, I think it could be argued that the flight risk is actually more significant now than it was before. The family in this case does oppose bond, Judge, and one other thing that I do want to address that was at the beginning of opposing counsel's argument. Our relationship with both sides is as much as we can make it. Miss Bruce, Mr. Nolan, and and DJ, the biological father of the defendant, they have been invited to our office constantly. Anytime we have spoken to the Brock side, we have reached out to the other side as well. They choose not to come. I sat down on that August 19th, 2025. We sat up in our brand new grand jury room up on the 5th floor, and I sat and answered their questions for at least a couple hours. I think it was about 2 hours that we were up there. They have been asked to come in every single time. I am inviting them to come into our office to talk to me today, tomorrow, any day, anytime. I cannot make this more clear. Anytime they want to come in and talk about the case, I am available to them. If they want to, we can set up a conference call on a weekend. If they need me to drive up to Marietta or up to Rome, I will drive up to Marietta or I will drive up to Rome. I drove up to Marietta a couple of weeks ago with my investigator, because Bruce was actually not there. So we have tried our very best to have a good relationship with them. They have turned their back because they do not believe that we are prosecuting the right person for this case. That was something I told them from the very beginning. I'm going to be as open and inviting as I can be, but we are not going to agree on that fact. They choose not to come in, Judge. I have conversations on the phone with Mr. Nolan and with Ms. Bruce because they live far away and it is difficult for them to come in. Any person in that family who wants to come in and talk to us can do so. At that meeting on August 19th, I told them to bring as many people as they want to. Friends, family, whoever they like. I invited them to record the interaction if they would like to. I have no problem talking to them. The state is not scared of talking to the family on either side. We invite them. Going back to the Brock side of the family, Judge, I do have a statement from them. They opposed bond as well for the same reasons that they opposed bond in the first time. I would like to read this statement from them if I could. The seriousness of the charges before this court cannot be overstated. The accused is being held and charged with the malice murder of 2 people. These were intentional violent acts that were permanently destroying our family. Granting bond in a case of this magnitude would undermine the gravity of these crimes and the devastating harm that she has already inflicted. Then they move to addressing the Ayala factors. We remain deeply concerned about flight risk. The defendant is facing the possibility of life-altering consequences if convicted. Given the severity of the charges, the incentive to flee is substantial. The immediate family has the resources which would enable her to flee. Her family maintains that she is innocent, and given her manipulative behavior, it is possible for her to flee. Once released, there would be no meaningful way to ensure the defendant remains within the jurisdiction or appears for future court proceedings, since family and close friends have homes outside of the state of Georgia. We are also gravely concerned about witness intimidation. This case relies on witnesses who must be able to cooperate freely and safely with law enforcement and with the court. Releasing the defendant creates a real and reasonable fear that witnesses could be intimidated, influenced, or discouraged from coming forward. Even indirect contact or perceived threats would be irreparably damaging to the case. Finally, and most urgently, we fear for our own safety. The loss that our family has suffered has traumatized us and left us vulnerable. The thought of the person accused of killing them being released into the community causes us constant anxiety and fear. Bond would not only endanger witnesses, it would also place our family under continued emotional distress and fear for our physical safety. The accused is being charged with 2 malice murder counts. These are horrific and violent crimes in which she is being accused. The defendant's second bond request, this is the defendant's second bond request, and nothing has changed that would justify reconsideration. The risks remain the same, if not greater, as the case moves forward and the consequences become more real. Our family would not be able to sleep in peace knowing that she is not in protective custody. Judge, it's the state's position that on August 19th of 2025, she was a poor candidate for bond. And that is, as I stand here before you today, she remains a poor candidate for bond, and bond should be denied as such.
Who made the statement?
That was crafted by Kim Bowling on behalf of the other family, the Brock family.
Who was that for? Who made the statement?
Kim Bowley.
No, that's the sister.
It is.
At the past hearing, we also had a brother testify.
We did, Judge. We had sons. We had sons and her and then a friend of the family as well. If I recall correctly, it's going back a little bit.
I believe it was her brother, stepbrother. Is that correct?
I think so, Judge.
All right.
That's right, Karen.
And he was not in favor at that time as well, correct?
Correct. There's significant numbers on this side as well.
Okay. I thought that was what he was good. He basically denies Bond. Like the one thing I hate is already starting. I'll show you this title. It says here, like, judge slaps down TikTok teen's request for Bond. What are you on about? He doesn't slap it down. We'll watch it now, but I hate these titles that they do. Law and crime.
So in preparing for this hearing today, I was prepared to listen for and hear anything that showed that there was a material change. As of right now, I don't see that there has been a material change. The only real change that has happened, one is the court date changed, and then two, I don't believe I had the information in front of me that family members had signed contracts with different media companies at the prior hearing. So that's new material. When I look at this, when I asked the state and defense to come up when the witnesses were testifying and the defense objected to the line of questioning that the state had, my concern was I wanted someone to ask or bring up the question of veracity of these statements, because while I know, and I hope the family hears this, I'm not doubting your love for your granddaughter or your daughter. Is Mr. DJ here? That's not in question. Okay, and I think I said this last year. So whatever ruling I make today, do not think that it is me determining your love and care for your daughter, right, or your granddaughter. With that said, I do have to consider some of the things that have changed in with these type contracts. If she were to be released, y'all could benefit from your Ms. Williams actually used the term media frenzy. The more that's brought about, potentially the higher or more you as individuals would receive potentially. And so while that's not an IALA factor that I have to evaluate, that is some of the change that in consideration of where she's going, who she'd be with, and they play into the factors of what could happen. But again, that does not play into whether or not you care or love your granddaughter or your daughter. All right. Going to the court dates. I don't believe that really goes into the material change argument, but it is a change in dates. And I want to lay this out. Ms. Patrick, I tried to take some time with you last time going through the arraignment process and the going through the grand jury. So I'm going to lay this out for you today, okay? A typical criminal trial that most people don't realize, for that to be fast, for a criminal trial, especially one like this, a murder trial or child molestation or rape trial, these heavy crimes, right? Most people in the judicial world would say that 1.5 years is a really fast track for that case to be heard. And I'm sure your attorney's probably gone over this with you, so you're even shaking your head yes, like you understand that to be the case, right? So right now, when your case first came up, the first court date that I gave you, I was trying to push because I know your age, right? And I wanted everybody to understand by me giving those first dates, do not drag your feet. But in all candor, if you remember, if you go back to that hearing when I set that date, I kind of had a little caveat saying, I understand this may be pushing, right? And what happened was, when we came up, defense, you announced ready, but in actuality, you didn't even have your full report. And to do that, you would have needed that. If we'd have started that day, you were thinking you might have the report by Friday, but you weren't sure. But I think you did what you had to do in the moment. Say you were ready, but you were announced ready without the full report that you truly need. State needs that report. They need that full report to do their job and have their expert. So as both of you stated that day, and I believe the state even addressed here today, the continuance had to be given. The continuance had to be granted for fairness to take place, right? Fairness for you and your attorney to actually get the full report, and fairness for the state to be able to prepare for this case. Now, in doing that, I had a couple of different dates available. The state and defense both came to me and said, Judge, we know that you don't want to move this case again. We want to put it on your August date. That was the date that was agreed on by defense and the state. If I look at the dates, right, now we just acknowledged, and you were shaking your head yes, as if you understood that a year and a half is really fast for these type cases. That's typically as quick as one will get, right? If I look at my dates now for your August date, you hit right at almost exactly a year and a half. So even with that August date, your case is still moving at an incredibly fast pace. You realize that? Now, with that being said, state and defense also know I do not want to continue this case again, right? And we're going to do everything that I can. I'm going to do everything that I can to prevent this case from being moved, right? It's my understanding there may be some changes that take place. If those changes do take place, I do anticipate signing orders, especially set days. If there are conflicts, I commit to both state and defense. I don't mind calling other judges that may have conflicts, and I ask them if they don't mind if we jump ahead in line so that I can have attorneys report to me so that we can make this happen. And I hope that we can do that. But when I look at this again, I think the state's correct. I have to evaluate it for material change. I don't see much of a material change. The risks that were there at your first bond hearing still exist. I do have to say I can see both sides, but I do see from the state saying that things may be even intensified with these contracts, because that brings a whole level again of motivation. If you're out, what's going to motivate you or that side to do things? Because the more that's there, the more they have, the more potentially they get. That's a risk too. So based on that, and based on evidence that was given to me at the prior hearing, I believe any time that I make a ruling that takes into consideration statements that were made at prior rulings, I have to place that on the record. So I need to place on the record that part of this ruling is based upon the testimony that was given to me at the prior bond hearing. Okay, the statements that I heard then. And I'm not giving more weight to one side or the other. That's just not the case. What I am doing is properly weighing this to the best of my ability against the law, right? And that's what I have to do with these factors, right? Based on doing that, I am going to stand with the original order that I gave. Bond will continue to be denied. I do not find a significant material change in circumstances or facts that would allow or require me to make a change in that prior ruling. So the prior ruling will still stay. Right, the case is set for our August date. Attorneys, we will continue our meetings as we've done prior to this. I anticipate us still having our monthly conference calls to make sure that we can stay on pace and stay on track. If there's a change, please let me know if there's a change. And whenever that change is made, I will continue to bring that person in to continue with these monthly conference calls so we can keep this case on track. All right. I do want to say again, Ms. Williams, you and your staff and state, y'all have done a fantastic job keeping me informed of this case and making it a priority. I greatly appreciate that. Y'all both done a great job.
I don't know what you just said. The attorney said, the state attorney said August 3rd was the trial. He just said something about 8th. I'm not sure if he meant the trial starts on the 8th or whether jury selection begins on the 3rd, the trial starts on the 8th. I don't know. But it's around early August it'll be done. Erin Hack, how are you, my darling? Hope you're doing well.
Erin Hack, she drives a bus, yellow bus, yellow bus. Erin Hack, she drives a bus all day long.
I mean, we all listened to that. I don't think that he was very, what did they call it? Judge slaps down TikTok teen. I mean, come on. Stop centralizing. Is it centralizing? Is that a word? Why? This is why I hate media. This is why I hate them. Because that title, if you read that and you don't know anything about this trial, it's like, yeah, the judge has just slapped her down and put her in her place. And it's like, no, he didn't. He spoke to her very respectfully. And I thought he was, good. So you say this, right? So I saw Law and Crime had a clips. So there's stuff on there saying how inappropriate it was for Sarah Grace Patrick to be, she was making faces and stuff when the state was saying that she was a risk of fleeing and all these things, and she was making faces. So Law and Crime obviously was centralizing that, going, oh my God, this is ridiculous. How dare she make faces, and she should be like a stone, not showing anything. And I'm glad that Carl Steinberg was on Twitter. I saw him post saying he's a well-respected attorney, and he was like she's like 17. I mean, as an attorney, would you like her to be stone-faced? Of course. And I would suggest she is, but she's 17, facing a murder trial. Give her a break. Why are we judging her as... Because people are trashing her for it. I was like, it wasn't even that bad. She was just, obviously disagreeing with the statements being made. And she can't keep a straight face. So I just don't like attacking her or anybody just for that, but it's one of those things that we're always going to get, especially from media, mainstream media, and this is why people already think people are guilty before we go into any trial. Unfortunately, this girl has a chance. Her parents had a lot going on in the background. She's not the only suspect in this. Yeah, but at the minute she's obviously standing trial. And I will say this about anybody, do you know what I mean, to a certain extent. Especially somebody that's only 16, 17, people don't know how to behave. And yes, you'd want them not to show any emotion, but you try sitting there and listening to family members saying that, you will manipulate people, you would do, and you disagree with it. Now, she may well do all the things that they're saying, but who cares? She reacts a little bit. So anyway, we'll see what happens. August 3rd, August 8th, we'll see what happens with that. But the state attorney went to town on the family, about how they've been invited to come in, but they've decided not to. And yeah, it's going to be some hostility in this trial, I think. So anyway, that's just an update on that. Of what's going to happen, because there's obviously a lot going on at the minute. There's a lot going on. It is hard to have a poker face. You're absolutely right there, James. Right, hang on. So, in about 1 hour and a half, you need to remind me. Why do you think she's a flight risk? Does she have family? Yes. Family and friends that do support her. Family and friends that do not believe that she did kill her parents. So there's a divide in the family. Some people think that she did it. Some people don't believe she did it. And, my stance is she's innocent unless proven guilty. So it is a thingy. Hang on. Ugh, I don't know why they got that. Right. Sorry, I just saw something come up on my YouTube. Oh fuck! I hate that channel. Right. Let me get you this now. This is not hearing. This is a sentencing that's happening at 5 o'clock today. I never heard about this case, but I think he just pled guilty. So we'll watch this. This is coming up at.
That makes you guilty.
Fuck. I didn't press play, you motherfucker. Right. I'm not sure if any of you heard this. This is Idaho versus Delbert Cornish. I'd never heard of this. Here you go.
That makes you guilty of count 1, first-degree murder.
I pulled the trigger. I shot my daughter.
You shot your daughter with a 9mm firearm.
Yeah.
Did you know what you were doing when you pulled the trigger?
Yes.
Did you pull the trigger with the intent to kill her?
Yes.
Your daughter, Hope Serene Ray Cornish, was a human being.
Yes.
You killed her. Did you kill her with deliberation and premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
Did this all occur on August 18th, 2025?
Yes.
Here in Canyon County, state of Idaho?
Yes.
I will accept your plea to count 1. I'll find there's a factual basis. I will direct that plea be entered on the record in this case. What did you do that makes you guilty of count 2, assault with the intent to commit murder?
I attempted to do the same to my son.
How did you attempt to do the same to your son?
I threatened to shoot him.
Were you holding the gun when you threatened to shoot him?
Yes.
Your son was under and still is under the age of 18. Do you agree that created a well-founded fear in your son that such violence was imminent?
Absolutely.
And you intended to instill that fear in him?
Yes.
And you did so with the intent to murder your son?
Yes.
Did all this occur on August 18th, 2025?
Yes, sure.
Here in Canyon County, state of Idaho?
Yes.
I'll find there's a factual basis for count 2. I'll accept your plea to count 2 and direct that it be entered on the record in this case. What did you do that makes you guilty of count 3, cruelty to animals?
I shot the cat.
And that was your daughter's cat?
Yeah.
You shot the cat and you did that on purpose?
Yes.
You did that with a firearm?
Yes.
That occurred on August 18th, 2025?
Yes.
Here in Canyon County, state of Idaho?
Yes.
We'll find there's a factual basis for count 3. I will accept your plea and direct that it be entered on the record in this case. As to the information part 2, what did you do that makes you guilty of possessing a deadly weapon during the commission of a crime?
I bought the 9mm and I had it.
What is your plea to count to the information part 2? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You possess that firearm with the intent to commit the crimes in counts 1 and 2?
Yes.
You possessed it at the same time you committed the crimes in counts 1 and 2?
Yes.
I'll find there's a factual basis for your plea to the information part 2.
Wow. So sentencing today. Is he taking a plea to avoid it? I don't know. It happened a few months ago, obviously 5 months ago. So I only stumbled upon it today whilst I was doing some research. Let me play you this. This is the son he tried to kill but failed. This is Lucian. So I've not watched this bit, but let's watch this together.
When I was running away, I thought to myself, like, am I dreaming? Like that, like I was just like, my brain was just going into like different directions of like, this has to be fake.
Lucian Cornish says what started as a normal day turned into a nightmare as soon as he got home from school. That's when he says his dad, Delbert Cornish, told him he shot and killed his sister Onyx.
He started like bawling, crying, not like normal sad cry, like scream crying. And I was like, okay, like what's going on? And then he said, I killed your sister. like, what? And then he reached into his pillow on the couch and he pulled out a gun.
Lucian says his dad tried to force him towards his sister's room, shooting the floor next to him to control the situation.
I just kept on trying to get him to let me leave. Just, Dad, like, I need to go outside. Just let me go. And then after a while, he said, turn around and walk behind you. I didn't want to face my back toward him, so I just walked backward, said, Dad, I'm your son. Well, like, why are you doing this? And then I think that, like, touched him.
Lucian says he lunged at his father, grabbing the gun and pinning him against the wall. He says his dad's actions terrified him, but he knew he had to fight to survive.
Then he stood up and he pointed the gun at me like this. And then, like, I knew that it's either I'm going to have to fight or I'm just going to die. He said, you know, this is your last time seeing me, right? I'm going to be dead 30 seconds after you leave. And I already kind of figured that. So I said, I know, Dad. I love you.
After the struggle, Lucian ran 2 blocks before calling 911. He's still trying to make sense of what happened, leaning on family for support.
How are you doing now with everything that's come out? And it's been a little over a month now. Can you walk us through how you're feeling?
I know that I'm not okay, but, like, I will be okay.
The family is still healing, with a GoFundMe remaining active to help with expenses. Deborah Cornish is expected back in court on October 13th. Reporting in Caldwell, I'm your neighbor.
Wow. That son's going to be fucked up for life. Do you know what I mean? Wow. I thought he was very composed, very good with that interview. Jeepers. Imagine that, going in, your father has just killed your sister and he's about to kill you. Wow. Yeah, I know, Jay. How do you start to get over that? You just don't. I don't think you can. I don't think you can ever. Wow. Court documents reveal motive. Right.
This is the news at 6.
We're learning disturbing new details about the murder of a young Caldwell woman. Hope Cornish's non-biological father, Delbert Cornish, is accused of murdering her and threatening to kill his son. Delbert was arraigned in Canyon County this afternoon, where he was also charged with aggravated assault and possession of a deadly weapon during commission of a crime.
7 Investigates obtained court records detailing what law enforcement found when they responded to the crime scene and what Delbert allegedly told them about the crime. We do want to warn you, what you're about to hear might be upsetting. A very detailed probable cause affidavit alleges when Cornish's son, referred to as LC, got home from school, Cornish asked him how his day was, and then told his son he shot and killed the teen's sister, Hope. LC told police Cornish had a gun, shot the floor, blocked him from leaving, and pointed the gun at him. LC says he fought with his dad over the gun and was able to get it away from him. He told his dad he was leaving before dropping the gun and running away. LC called police, who responded to the home on Blaine Street in Caldwell. When officers were able to enter the house, they say they found a gun on the couch and a handgun magazine on the floor near the front door. Officers found Hope's body in one of the bedrooms, with a pride flag draped over her. She was shot in the head. They also found her cat shot dead in the room. According to a PCA, law enforcement found murder-suicide notes written on a wall and a whiteboard in the house. The affidavit says Cornish took his brother's car and drove to Mountain Home. Caldwell police tracked him down through its license plate reader system. Mountain Home police arrested him at his ex-girlfriend's house a short time later. A Caldwell detective says Cornish admitted several times to murdering his non-biological daughter, Hope. He told the detective he's an alcoholic who struggles with depression, and he'd recently lost Mountain Home police arrested him at his ex-girlfriend's house a short time later. A Caldwell detective says Cornish admitted several times to murdering his non-biological daughter.
Non-biological daughter. Ah, okay. I thought he was his biological daughter. Not that it justifies what he's done, but like, okay, the way he's painted, it was his biological. It's non-biological. Oh shit, hang on.
He's an alcoholic who struggles with depression, and he'd recently lost his job. The detective wrote in the affidavit Cornish was planning to kill himself, saying he was tired of living and tired of his brother, who they live with, bullying his children and belittling him. According to the detective, Cornish had planned this for a year. He allegedly wanted to kill his children because he believed nobody would take care of them once he killed himself. And they were all better off dead. The detective wrote Cornish covered Hope with the pride flag as, quote, a way to honor her because it was something that meant a lot to her. Cornish told the detective he couldn't bring himself to hurt his biological son, LC, and he let him leave as long as LC left the gun. After his son left, Cornish told the detective he tried to shoot himself, but nothing happened when he pulled the trigger because the magazine was removed. When he couldn't find the magazine, Cornish said he decided to leave and go to his ex-girlfriend's house in Mountain Home.
Cornish was first booked into the Elmore County Jail, then transferred to Caney County. Our Abby Davis spoke to Hope's mother today. She remembers her daughter, who went by Onyx, as someone who wore her heart on her sleeve.
Yeah, and her mom, Crystal Thompson, tells us there were never any signs something like this could happen that she's aware of, and she's having a really hard time making sense of this tragedy. We will bring you that story later tonight on the news at 10.
We also want to mention
Okay, so she was his stepdaughter, as Baldassar says, and the son was his biological son. Did that play a part in it, you think? Why he let him go and not the stepdaughter? I don't know. I just know it's all sickening. Right, this was done yesterday. Where's this one gone now? I'm only learning about this case as we go along, so that's why I haven't got much. Hang on. Oh shit, stop. Okay. Okay, hang on. I don't know who this guy is, but
Delbert Cornish had been planning to end his daughter's life while she slept. He stood outside of her bedroom door trying to decide if he could actually go through with it or not. And then the 18-year-old named Onyx, she randomly opened the door, seeing her dad standing right outside of it, catching him off guard, kind of startling him. He then shot her, then watched for 20 minutes as she died. When his son Lucian got home from school, Delbert told him what he had done. Lucian somehow wrestled with his dad, got the gun away, and escaped. Delbert then drove to his ex-girlfriend's place where the police arrested him. He confessed to everything to police, said that he'd lost his job a couple weeks earlier and was keeping it a secret. He told detectives that he'd been planning for months to take all 3 of his kids' lives because he didn't believe they could survive without him. He struggled with alcoholism and depression, felt belittled by his brother who they lived with, and somehow convinced himself that his kids would be better off dead than living without him. That's the reasoning he gave police, though honestly, there is no rational explanation for what he did. Tomorrow, he faces sentencing in Idaho. Life without parole is mandatory for first-degree charges there.
Okay, so he's facing life without parole then. So it must have been then, not Badass, James, you said that's probably to avoid the death penalty. I think it is. Hello, KD. Better late than never, KD. It's okay. Doesn't matter. I just noted down the late. That's fine. Also, breaking news, if Dave is here or anybody follows NFL, Todd Monken is the new head coach of the Cleveland Browns. So that's another one done. Todd Monken is now the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. I don't know why you want to be a Cleveland Brown head coach, but, you know, somebody has to be, I suppose. Oh, just touching my titties. Right. You got a nail appointment. Oh, okay, you're forgiven. Nail lashes and nails. Nice. Right, so remind me at 12 o'clock Eastern, we will watch the sentencing for that one. Because I think it'd be a good one. Right. Let me Google this one first before I go into it. Because I do want to look at that one. Sorry, I can't do two things at once. I do want to look at that. A sentencing, because I do think it's 1 hour 9 minutes. Yes, Badaza, you are correct, sir. Bye, bye, Miss American, bye. So there's a case. I don't know if we're going to cover this case or not, because I don't know if it's going to be televised or not. But my internet, I don't know what's wrong with access restricted. What the fuck? Why is it restricted for? Have I not paid the bills? Ah, my Surfshark's not on. Is that why? Off himself. But didn't, and when the state offered to do it, he bottled it. Yes, I don't understand. Look, I'm not in that position, thankfully. I don't know how I would feel in this way. Oh my days, why is that not showing? Right, this is another Detroit case, so KD's case. I'm too nice to KD. I'm too nice to her. Washtenaw County. Washtenaw County. I don't know how you say it, but Washtenaw County. So, okay. This is a man. Access denied. Motherfuckers, why do I keep getting access denied for? Access denied. Why am I getting access denied for? So, there's a case in Washtenaw County, Michigan. A guy named Buster Robbins. He is accused of abducting, sexually assaulting, and murdering Beverly Wivel over 35 years ago. And he appeared in court. He was charged with the rape and murder of Wivel. She was found dead inside the road in Superior Township in September 1989. Hey, Keith. Let's go, Pats, go. Let's go. There's like Ann Arbor area where, about 45. That makes sense because this is the same court as Sharon Moore was in, or similar one, same judge, I believe. According to the prosecutor's office, Wivel was sleeping in her vehicle in Canton Township after dropping her son off at school when she was abducted, sexually assaulted, and shot. Her body was discovered on the side of the road, and her vehicle was later found still running with the driver's door open and her purse inside. That day has been in my head since that day, as it was yesterday. I would want her to meet my kids. I've done the best I could. I hope she was proud, said her son, Dale Swanson. I felt alone even though I had family. So let me. Why don't I just share this? Why am I doing it without sharing it? Let me share this. So, let's go, girls. Let's go, nosy bitches. In 1980, hang on. So DNA evidence from a rape kit complete 1989 was sent for forensic genealogy testing in 2024. The testing linked to DNA to Robbins of Almont. Prosecutors confirmed that Robbins and Wivel did not know each other. So this is a 1989 investigation. Detective Casey Luke testified on September 18th, 1989. Deputies were sent to the area of Ford and Gottfrieston roads for reports of a woman who had been shot and was found on the side of the road. Luke said investigators later identified the woman as Wivel. She had been shot with a .45 caliber pistol. Her vehicle was discovered later that night in Canton Township. Oh, another Canton case. Fuck me. The vehicle was still running. The driver's door was open and her purse was inside. There was stuff going on though she was divorcing my dad at the time and grandma wouldn't let her bring a new boyfriend to the house. She would stay out in the car with her, but so she would stay out of the car with her, but she wasn't living in the car, Swanson said. Luke said she had dropped Swanson off at school at 8:30 a.m. Deputies were called to the scene of the crime at 9:40 a.m. A witness reported hearing a gunshot and seeing a blue vehicle similar to a Chrysler New Yorker with a white top speeding near the scene. From what I understand, there's plenty of damning evidence, and that is pretty certain. But for me, until a guilty verdict's heard, it won't be done for me, Swanson said. DNA tested in January 2024. In January 2024, DNA taken from the rape kit completed on Wivell was sent to Michigan State Police, who sent it in for a forensic genealogy testing. The testing led investigators to Robbins. Investigators conducted several days of surveillance over a period of several weeks on Robbins' home, where he lives with his wife. On September 24, 2024, investigators collected several items, including used plastic straws, which were sent to Michigan State Police lab for DNA comparison. Forensic scientists found that DNA from one of the straws matched the DNA from the rape kit. Investigators said that Robbins' wife told him that in 1989, Robbins drove a vehicle that matched the description reported by the witness. They also found a .45 caliber magazine with ammunition in the home while conducting a search warrant. Well, what a fucking dummy. Court appearance. Robbins was charged with felony murder. His attorney discussed bond charges and argued to... Actually, we might watch that. Hang on. Let's see if I got that one. Okay, this is his... Okay, let's listen to his bond hearing then. See you later, Lou. Salam, darling. Let's listen to his hearing.
People versus Buster Robbins, 25354 FC.
Zachary Ward on behalf of the people. Good morning, Your Honor. May it please the court, Tim Turkles on behalf of Mr. Robbins, who's coming to the courtroom now. Roland Sizemore is also here on behalf of Mr. Robbins.
Good afternoon, sir. You can have a seat if you like.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So who wants to start first?
Judge, we've got a couple of issues up for today. The first one was our motion for a motion in limine. We specifically wanted to exclude a particular witness's testimony.
Mm-hmm.
In response, the government provided a theory that, although new to us, apparently is the theory that the government's going to move forward on at this point. Based on their response, I concede that that witness's testimony would be relevant based on that theory that the prosecutor is now relying on. And so I'm going to withdraw that motion at this point, Judge, but I would reserve the right to renew that should the prosecutor's theory change in such a way that it may not be appropriate.
Request granted.
Thank you, Your Honor. So we've got that issue addressed, Judge. The other issue that we have today is our motion for bond. Yes. And I'm prepared to make that argument now, Judge. And I would submit to the court that bond in this case should be granted for three reasons. First off, Judge, there is an extremely low probability of conviction in this case, and I'll go into some details about that. Mr. Robbins also does not pose a threat to the community and is not a risk of flight in any way, and any risk that this court may perceive based on these charges could be mitigated by use of a tether, a GPS tether. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, Judge, the government isn't ready to try this case. We've got a tentative trial date for February 9th. They're not ready to try this case, and they're going to be asking for an adjournment. We're ready to go forward based on the evidence that's been presented to us. But it's my understanding there's a lot more evidence out there that we haven't necessarily had a chance to look at. And the government is still going through that evidence. And as a result, there's a good chance that this matter gets adjourned. But Mr. Robbins shouldn't sit in jail because the government isn't ready to proceed with their case. And so I want to take each of those issues in order. And I also want to highlight, Judge, that we believe under all the elements contained in the bond statute that it warrants Mr. Robbins' release. I'm going to focus on a couple because I think they're the most significant as a general rule of my experience in these kind of matters, and that is the serious nature of the crime, the likelihood of conviction, and the threat to the community. So I want to talk about the likelihood of conviction, which in this case I perceive as the unlikelihood of conviction. This is, without question, Judge, in my experience, being a prosecutor over 20 years, one of the weakest homicide cases I have seen. And I also want to preface my comments by noting I'm not here in any way to cast aspersions at Mr. Ward. He's an assistant prosecutor that's handled this case. He's not the issuing prosecutor. He's just doing his job. So any criticism I have is not in any way directed towards him. This is a case in which Beverly Weibel was killed on September 18th of 1989, over 36 years ago, as a result of 2 shotgun wounds, one to the face, one to the abdomen. Her body was then dumped at the intersection of Godfredson and Ford Road here in Washtenaw County. That shooting took place about 9:30 in the morning. Based on witness testimony, her body was found shortly thereafter at that intersection. But in trying to assess the strength or the likelihood of conviction, I think it's important to understand the events that led up to this particular situation. I know the court's had a chance to review our pleadings, so I'm going to highlight our pleadings. Sure. The investigators were able to piece together basically what had happened the day before and that day as it relates to Beverly. And specifically, the day before, Beverly was with her boyfriend, Jeff. And they spent that night, that Sunday night, in an apartment that had been vacated at an apartment complex where Jeff, her then boyfriend, used to work. They sort of partied that night, drank alcohol, had sex, and hung out all night at this apartment. About 7 in the morning, they left the apartment. Beverly drove with Jeff in the car to her mom's house, where Beverly's son, Dale, had spent the night and was residing with her mom. Beverly assisted in getting her son ready for school, and they came out, and Beverly then drove both Jeff and Dale to their respective locations. Drove Jeff back to the apartment complex they had been to, dropped him off there for work, and drove Dale to his school. Dropped Dale off at 8:15 a.m. and then left. On the way to dropping Jeff off and dropping Dale off, Beverly specifically told the two of them she wasn't going home after she dropped Dale off. She was going back to the park, and she was going to stay at the park and sleep at the park. Specifically, Judge, and for whatever reason, I always seem to forget the name of the park. Griffin Park. She was going back to Griffin Park and sleep. And the evidence thus far that's been presented at the preliminary exam demonstrates that she left Griffin Park, left the school for Griffin Park at about 8:15 in the morning, and that would have put her at Griffin Park about 8:25 in the morning. It's been undisputed that at about 9:30 in the morning, a witness had a gunshot outside of his residence, went to investigate that. And when I say went to investigate that, got in his truck, drove up his drive, and could see the expanse of the road, didn't see anyone running up there or driving up there. And he had heard one gunshot and sees a vehicle leave a farm lane. It's just a real short area where someone could back a car into, basically, in a sort of access road for a farm field. Observed someone drive out of there at a high rate of speed and leave, and described the person as having sort of long hair and a long, narrow face, and described the color of the car as being blue, and described sort of the make that he thought the car may have been. And then later on, they found Beverly's body about 2 miles from that farm lane where the farmers claimed to have seen a vehicle driving away from. And investigators, based on the testimony at the exam, believe that someone took Beverly from Griffin Park to the area where her body was found. They subsequently located her car at Griffin Park later that night, car running, her shoes in the car, purse in the car. And the investigator perceived is that would have happened, that abduction, if there was one, would have happened between 8:25 in the morning and the time that she was found, and the time that she took place at 9:30. The only connection between Mr. Robbins and the victim in this case was the fact that his DNA was found in her vagina at the time they did the autopsy later that day on the 18th. Now, no one knew that was his DNA at the time. They found 2 samples of DNA at the time. They found Jeff, the boyfriend's DNA, in her vagina, and they found an unknown sample. And flash forward to 2024 through the various testing through 23andMe and things like that, they notified law enforcement that you may want to focus on Buster Robbins. And so what they did is they went into the trash bowl at Buster Robbins' home, got a number of straws, DNA tested them. One came back as a potential match to the DNA sample found in Beverly's body. And so what they did at that point, judges, they obtained a search warrant. And they executed a search warrant on January 2nd at Mr. Robbins' home. And they had 2 search warrants at that point. They had a search warrant for his DNA, and they had a search warrant for physical evidence at the home. And they executed that search warrant. But before they executed the search warrant, they talked to Mr. Robbins. And they asked him point blank, do you know Beverly Weigel? He said no. They asked him if he ever had sex with her. He said no. And they arrested him at that point. And they arrested him because his DNA was in her vagina and he denied having sex with her. That's the investigating officer's statement under oath at the exam. I arrested him because he denied having sex with her and his DNA was there. And he arrested him for murder. However, the expert that the prosecutor relies upon, the DNA expert from the Michigan State Police Crime Lab, note that Buster's DNA could have been in Beverly Weigel for up to 96 hours before the autopsy was conducted. Days beforehand. The investigator never knew that. He acknowledged that, never knew that when he arrested him. That expert also stated that there's no way, based on DNA analysis, to confirm whether that DNA was disposited by consensual or non-consensual sex. And I would note that the autopsy report didn't find any evidence of sexual assault. I think also importantly, that DNA expert specifically said, no one can tell you whose DNA was deposited first. In other words, was Mr. Robbins' DNA posited first or was Jeff? And so the only connection they have between Beverly, the decedent, and Buster is this DNA sample in her vagina. That's it. Now, there's also, they went ahead after they arrested him, searched his home, and during the search they found some firearms and stuff in his safe. And of consequence was that they found a .45 caliber magazine in Mr. Robbins' safe. And they claim that the decedent was killed with a .45 round from a .45 caliber handgun. And what the investigators also concede was Mr. Robbins helped them open the safe because they couldn't. He helped them go ahead and maneuver the locking mechanism, open it up, and he told them before they ever opened the safe, this is what's in there. He described much of what was in there, including, I got a .45 caliber magazine from my grandfather that's in there. And he told them that at a time in which he hadn't been informed that Beverly had been killed with a .45 caliber round. But the government relies upon that as some significant evidence of his guilt towards the homicide. And I would submit to the court that is tenuous at best. The other piece of evidence that they would rely upon is David Coombs, the witness who had heard the gunshot at 9:30, drove towards the end of the road. He described seeing a New Yorker, blue in color, leave. And investigators talked to my client's wife at the time and asked her, did you ever own a car like this? And she said, I think we kind of might have one about that time that was blue. And then later on called the investigators the next day and said, we didn't. It was green. It was light green. And so that's what they have. That's their connection. At the same time, they acknowledge no one can put Buster Robbins in the area of the crime on the day in question. They acknowledge they have no evidence of that. They acknowledge that there's no evidence to believe or to support the idea that anyone besides Jeff and Dale, the boyfriend and the son, knew that Beverly would be in Griffin Park that day. No one else knew it. And they have no evidence that Buster Robbins knew it, and they have no evidence that Buster Robbins was there. And yet, he's charged with murder based on just her DNA and his denial. And so, it's unusual for me to argue.
Yeah, this is why it's going to be a little bit difficult. James pointed this as well. His DNA is inside her vagina, but he stated initially that he did not know her. Now, obviously, his line's probably going to be like, well, I used to go out and sleep with women. And that's the whole point this attorney's doing, that this semen could have been there for 96 hours beforehand. So that's going to be their whole case is, he doesn't know who she is. I suspect, this is just my speculation. Yes, he does not know who she is. He did sleep with women back in those days. He cheated on his wife, and he slept with many women. And this could be up to 96 hours before. So there's no proof that he killed her. There's proof that he had sex with her, but no proof that he killed her. And I think that's the way they're going to go with this. That was 35 years ago. How was he supposed to know who he slept with? So I think that's going to be the defense, to be fair. And that's why I think it's going to be difficult in some ways for the prosecution to convict him or bring a case for killing her unless they've got some proper evidence. I don't know. DNA is an unknown in an unknown strong case for defense. I think it's a strong case that he slept with her, obviously, but I don't think. Well, I think they can go. Look, it depends on what the jury then think. Do you know what I mean? Is it reasonable to think that? But I think the whole 96 hours plays a part as well. 24, 48. That's 4 days beforehand. I don't know. Sleeping with someone doesn't mean you killed them, so you got to see what they got aside from that. Yes, I totally agree. That's what you so eloquently stated it in the way that I was trying to state it. They need more. James has fair comment, Josie. See, James is very like I always try and look at this from a realistic point of view and what a balanced view. You know, we can already say that he's having semen is a bit much, but then I can see how they're going to state it. Yeah. Slept with her randomly. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. You could have slept with her randomly. Because we've all slept around. Some of you probably more than others, but we've all slept around maybe not knowing the person's name or maybe knowing their name that night, but not knowing them after that. So that is realistic, you know. So there has to be more than just that. There has to be more than just the semen. If they said the semen was there no more than, I don't know, 6 hours or whatever, but it's 4 days. They can't place it for 4 days. That's a long window, you know. Katie says, speak for yourself. Well, you know, I'm not judging you, Katie. Not judging you. He could have hit it and quit it. Yes. Again, most of you've probably been there. You've probably hit a lot and quit it a lot as well. So, yeah. They need more than just this. I agree. There you go, Rhonda. Rhonda's too innocent.
Judge, that, geez, this is a murder case, but it's so bad in terms of the proofs, or so tenuous in terms of the proofs, that you really should take this into consideration in terms of the bond. But it's just that, Judge. You've heard the case right there. It's tenuous, to say the least. And we've got a guy who's been in jail since January 2nd of 2025 because the investigator asked him if he had sex with Beverly. He said no, and his DNA was there. That's it. And he arrested. I think what that reflects, Judge, and I know you're a former prosecutor, all of us in here have been prosecutors or are prosecutors. We have situations in which our investigators maybe go out on a limb a little bit and they arrest somebody, and you've got a choice to make at that point. Do you PFI them? Do you release them pending further investigation? Or do you issue the warrant? And it's a tough call. It's a tough call when you get a murder case. And I think this officer jumped the gun, arrested my client on really no evidence of a murder. And the Washtenaw County prosecutors had a decision to make, and they chose to issue a warrant. But candidly, they weren't ready. And they still aren't ready. And my client is paying the price for their decision, and that's not how the system should work. I also think it's significant, Judge, that my client isn't a risk to the public and isn't a risk to flee. My client, and I went through the elements, I know you've had a chance to review those elements, but my client doesn't have a criminal history, has no mental illness, has family in the area, his family's in the courtroom now, Judge. My client has a home that he can go to and live with his daughter and her husband, who are right here, who are willing to have him in that home. This court could impose a requirement of a GPS test that requires him to be in that home for all purposes, except for medical things that are pre-approved and or meetings with their attorneys, things of that nature. And I also want to highlight that frustration that Mr. Sizemore and I have had on a number of occasions. I know the jail does everything they could, and they've been nothing but friendly when I go to the jail to try and meet with Mr. Robbins.
But you wait forever.
If you get them at all.
Right.
If you get them at all.
Recursive problem, I understand.
Exactly, Judge. And that is becoming a real issue as we try to prepare for trial. And so I think that the factors under the bond statute weigh in favor of his release. This is a tenuous case. The other concern I have is this is a case that, as I've indicated, the prosecutor isn't ready to go on. The prosecutor literally has evidence that he's going through that we haven't seen yet. And all the while, my client sits there waiting and waiting and waiting. And that's just not appropriate. The system is geared towards the government making an allegation and then being required to put forth their proofs at some point in time in support of those allegations. Which brings me to the fact that we've already sort of started that process. We've had a preliminary exam. It wasn't even bound over the first time. It wasn't even bound over. It was dismissed because they couldn't prove probable cause. Now, a subsequent judge overturned that decision, but I think it highlights the tenuous nature of the proofs. And under the totality of the circumstances, Judge, the government can't take a year away from a guy's life on such tenuous charges and then say, we're still not ready, and argue he should still remain in custody until we get ready on our really bad case. I mean, that's just not how you conduct a criminal prosecution, and that's not how the system is designed. And my client's paying the price through no fault of his own. It shouldn't be that way, Judge, and I'm asking you not to co-sign onto that and not to allow that to continue. I think the appropriate bond, just to be specific, Judge, $150,000 PR bond with a tether, GPS tether, that my client obviously would bear the expense for if needed, and he'd be permitted to only leave the home for previously approved appointments, be it medical or his meetings with his attorney or court appearances. And that would protect the public, and that would address any concerns this court has. And I know this puts you on in a difficult situation because no one wants to be in a situation where they're potentially releasing a murder suspect. But I also think it's important. You haven't created this situation. Mr. Robbins hasn't created this situation. The government has. And if that's the case, I get it. We still need to protect the public. Your Honor needs to protect the public. The tether can do that. And I think that would be an appropriate solution that kind of walks the middle ground here in a very difficult situation, Judge. So I ask the court to make that order. Thank you.
Mr. Ward.
Judge, respectfully, Mr. Turkelson can stand here all day and say it's a tenuous case, it's a bad case. That doesn't make it so. Frankly, we are where we are like any other normal case. Well, it took a little twist and turn at district court, but Judge Hammoud found that there was probable cause for the crime of open murder and that Buster Robbins is the person who committed it. Additionally, that opinion was affirmed by the Court of Appeals. So that's where we're at. There's probable cause that he's committed this murder, and so the bond factors apply. I do want to talk about some evidence that Mr. Turkelson brought up. He talked, this is just because he said he didn't remember this person that they asked him about. It's different than that, Judge. They show him a picture. They say, have you, he has a wife of 50 years. He was married to his wife at the time. Have you ever been unfaithful to your wife? No, never unfaithful to my wife. And again, sir, your DNA is in the vagina of a murder victim. Do you have any thoughts of how this could happen? No, I've never been unfaithful. They've made sure that his wife is not in earshot. So if he wants to pretend that he just forgot about this until now, that's this one night stand he's claiming, that's fine. I think the evidence quite clearly shows differently. In terms of the DNA, while the expert did concede that it could have been planted there up to 4 days prior, she noted that sensitivity of testing back then was much less than it is now. She also noted that he's the major contributor to this DNA sample, and while there are other explanations for that, one is that it did come after the minor donor, right? Then Mr. Turkelson brought up this 45 magazine. During the same interview where he denied ever being unfaithful to his wife, he was adamant he's owned guns, he's a longtime gun owner, CPL owner, always 327s, never owned a 45, just a 327. And then after he learns they have a search warrant for his safe, he's, I inherited this 45 caliber magazine, and it's a keepsake from my grandpa that I kept all these years. Well, let's talk about this. The forensic ballistics report from 1989, so the month of the murder, says the bullet that killed Miss Weigel was a full jacket, right twist with 6 grooves. And to search for certain mates of this, a firearm capable of shooting this bullet, they said Llama and Star. They said, look for this gun. That's a Spanish company. And that's what this magazine is. It's a Llama and Star magazine. Additionally, Your Honor, in this magazine, I think it's a 6-shot magazine. It has 3 bullets in it. Those are from 1986. So, and Mr. Robbins' grandpa died in 1980. So to believe Mr. Robbins, he inherited this magazine with no corresponding gun, kept it for whatever reason, went out in 1986 and bought these bullets just to keep in it with no corresponding gun. And then, obviously Beverly Weibel was murdered with two bullets in 1989. We're not here to try the case, but these blanket assertions have more details, and in a case like this, details matter. So really, we're here to discuss the bond factors, and I'll go through them now with the court. Frankly, when he was arraigned in January of this year, Magistrate Odetella assessed this case and decided that bond should be denied under 6106, the provision that allows when proof of guilt is evident. We had this ruling at district court, but Judge Barr was so concerned about details, despite not binding it over, he decided to keep the bond at no bond, which, we believe he could do that through a stay on his ruling, the effect of his ruling that was litigated. Judge Hammoud, in virtually identical motion to the one that's filed before your court, Your Honor, it was an easy motion to respond to because I essentially just copied my response from back in May of this year. She assessed this case. She determined that a bond should be set. It should be $5 million, cash only, GPS, no contact with minors, because at that time we just discovered CSAM on the defendant's tablet.
Judge, I'm going to object to any statement related to CSAM or any other crimes based on your
I'll take it for what Judge Malone was considering at the time, because the ruling was not made at that point. Go ahead.
Right, Judge. So CSAM, as well as, we're aware that he was sneaking men into the house to have non-consensual sex with his wife. We found these men, Your Honor. They admit to coming at, the defendant, meeting with the defendant at McDonald's, being allowed into the home to have sex with a tied up lady that, one thought she was aware. But, we talked to his wife. She denies any of this. She's been a faithful wife for 50 years. And here we've learned that he's, up until the day he was arrested, he was messaging these men to commit the ultimate act of marriage betrayal, to have forced this on his wife. So that's why we believe he's a danger to the community. Obviously, we believe he's a danger because of what he did in 1989. We also believe he's a danger based on what he was doing up until the day of arrest. He's never faced the criminal justice system before, so obviously he doesn't have a track record of failing to appear or coming to. I submit he has great incentive to flee at this time. He's obviously an elderly man. A likely sentence in a case like this means the rest of his life, right, if convicted. Your Honor, and he's a man of means. While he's getting divorced, they have assets. He, at one point, was at least residing or snowbirding in Florida at a condo in Florida, so he does have ties to other states. He at one time had a pilot license, so you could put a GPS on him, but, frankly, they can watch as that GPS goes to an airport and is cut off and he's gone. So I submit he has a great ability and motive to flee. Your Honor, they're suggesting to go live with a daughter. I know she's aware of the allegations and is okay with him being around the kids. The people have, my job is to protect the public at large. And I cannot at all agree to allow this man to have any access to minors based on what we discovered on his tablet. And obviously any contact with the wife. So frankly, I think the original bond determination of bond denied is appropriate. Judge Hammoud's ruling was sound in setting a $5 million bond. Nothing has factually changed about the case since then. As far as being ready to try this case, the people are ready to try this case on February 9th, the date of the trial, but for when sending out subpoenas and learning case, we learned that two critical expert witnesses are unavailable for this trial period. We didn't know that when we would have said it. We wouldn't have agreed to this trial period when we said it had we known that. I understand there's litigation to be had in this case. That's fine. It's the defense's choice to litigate this, pretrial issues in this case. That slows the case down. I understand that. But as far as discovery, we've turned over everything we have that we're aware of. There's some photos that will be coming in hopefully today to the defense. We're happy to, make sure they have everything they need. We're not trying to hide the ball or anything in this case. We're trying to give the defendant a fair trial, but at this point, we believe he's a danger to the community before that trial, and bond should not be changed.
Thank you. Judge, I do find it frustrating for the government to assert he's such a danger, and we're not right. You can't have it both ways. And for Mr. Ward to assert, we've given him everything. Literally in the hallway on the way to the courtroom, he said, I got to get you the Celebrate reports. We don't have everything. We don't. And he knows that we don't have everything. He himself doesn't have everything. And when I say he doesn't have everything, I mean in his office or in person have it. but the sheriff's department does, and they're a part of the prosecution team, and he knows that. And so that's a little disingenuous, and I want to point that out to the court. The idea that my client somehow a flight risk at age 70 with his family here is sort of ludicrous. He has assets, but they're assets like any person who lives off of a pension and has property that he owns. He maybe have money in terms of value in his property, but for him to say, I can pull $200,000 in cash tomorrow, no way. And he isn't a fighter. He wants to fight these charges. This is his life. There's no life fleeing. It doesn't exist that way at 70 years old. It doesn't exist that way. If the court wants him to give up a pilot's license, he'll give up a pilot's license. He'll give up his passport. He'll give up his driver's license. He'll give up whatever the court deems appropriate to give up. At the same time, he wants to be able to prepare a defense and not be housed on charges that are tenuous on a case the government's not ready to move forward on. And Mr. Ward's assertions about this sexual assault with a wife, we vehemently oppose that was in any way a sexual assault. And I can tell you from my own conversations with the Lapeer County Prosecutor's Office, they're not viewing it that way. Now, I can't say that couldn't change in the future, but as I sit here right now as an officer of the court, I can tell you I've talked to the prosecutor and they don't have any intentions at this time of charging that case. And so I think that's significant, Judge. And it lessens this claim or this premise that he's somehow a danger to the community. So, Judge, under the totality of the circumstances, respectfully, I don't think this is very much a close call. A difficult call, maybe, because it's a murder case, but a close call, no. I think that the elements under the considerations under the bond statute absolutely weigh in favor of release. I have suggested 150 PR bond with a tether, and I think that is appropriate, Judge.
Councilors, I'd like to approach, please. Yes. This is where I'm at right now.
I don't like the white noise. This is why you have to wait until you hear all the evidence. They're all saying this, that, the other. So we're going to have to wait for all the evidence to come in before we judge on anything. Right, hang on. Let's see what well, I know what it is because it says the top bond denied.
Concern is that we've already had a ruling that's been affirmed by the Court of Appeals that there was probable cause for Mr. Robbins to stand trial for this. And so in terms of likelihood of conviction, I understand that as cases progress, investigations continue, either the people's proofs will get stronger or they will fall apart. And I'm not sure exactly that we're at that point to say that the likelihood of conviction is not necessarily there. By your own statements today, Counselor, there are still things and evidence that you have not been privy to yet, which is shocking to me at this state. That needs to be remedied immediately. So it is my expectation that before our next hearing that the parties get together with the Sheriff's Department or whomever is the keeper of evidence in this case, and that everything is disclosed, that you can both aver when you come back to court next time that you've had an opportunity to look at all of the evidence and if necessary schedule things for independent review or analysis. In addition to that, it's the seriousness of this charge with the previous ruling that's going to keep Mr. Robbins under 6106 in custody right now. I'm willing to hear your renewed bond motion after I've reviewed the at least preliminary bill of particulars. I'd like to make sure that I understand the people's theories of the case, and then I can match that with the evidence that we are all of the same understanding as to what it is, and the evidence that was presented at the prelim, and then I think I can more knowingly make a assessment as terms to likelihood of conviction at that time, and that may change my analysis under 6106. I do have some proposed conditions that if I were going to make any amendments, I've asked that each of the parties supplement my inquiry, and I did provide that information to you at the bench. So that would be my expectation. I can bring you back on the 16th for a continued bond hearing and a evidentiary hearing. I understand there are motions to be filed.
Yeah, the people have filed a motion limiting the defense has requested more time to respond to it. I'm fine agreeing to give them more time, but coming on the 16th is fine.
Okay. I'd also like, as I mentioned before when we were speaking back, and chambers, those to be filed by the 12th, so that I have time to do my own research and read all the pleadings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we'll remove that. Our next meeting will be 116 at 9 a.m.
Sounds good, Judge.
Okay, we'll see everybody back then.
Thank you.
Mr. Robbins, you're good.
Can you move that over with you guys? Zach, I'm gonna email you when it's time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I believe the next hearing is March for this one, from what I can see. I did see something that said March. So we'll keep an eye on it. KD, something for you to do. That J-Man, but that does look like you are doing something inappropriate. Obviously, it looks a bit better here, but it looks like something's coming, like ejaculating. But, hello, lovely. How are you, my darling? Nice to see you, as always. And thank you for renewing your membership. I saw that yesterday. Thank you very much to you, lovely. Right. So that was rejected. So let me just have another look. This is, as I say, this is something we're going to have to wait until trial, I believe. Because you can imagine the defense and the prosecutors, they're all going to say different things, what's relevant, what's not. So we'll just wait for the... next hearing is scheduled for March 23rd, 10 a.m. Right, let's make a note of that. I probably won't be here under, but see you later, my darling. Just remind me, KD, I just want you to remind me about this case. Buster Robbins. Because I think this will be a quite interesting case. Buster Robbins. March hearing. March 23rd. 10 a.m. And it is Washtenaw County. Washtenaw County. Detroit, Michigan. Go Blue, Michigan. So that's the next hearing. I'd like to watch that, I think. And what was that channel we were just watching that on? That was Wolfo. Let me get Owl here. Go there. Put it here. Click on Detroit. WTIV. And hey, who could believe Bill Belichick not getting into the Hall of Fame? First time ballot. That's a disgrace. I don't care if you like the Patriots or not. He should be a first round Hall of Famer. Full of shit, that is. Right. So basically, J-Ma's just been lazy, Katie. She's been lazy bitch at the minute. Not just a nosy bitch, she's been a lazy bitch. Right. So we got the other hearing coming up in sentencing 25 minutes. So let me see what else I can do in 25 minutes. I could do a lot in 25 minutes. I know the Hall of Fame is a joke. How can he not get at least 40 votes out of 50? That is disgraceful. Disgraceful. I think it's shambolic. He's the slam dunk. Him and Tom Brady are the two slam dunk people that need to go in into the Hall of Fame. Nosy, I like how you spell it. I know. The spelling is different. Okay, no, I don't show that. I can't show that. Okay, not that. Take that out. That's what she said. That's out there. That's gone there. Robert Kraft, yes, but I understand why Robert Kraft's not like slam dunk. I believe that Tom and Bill should be ahead of Robert Kraft. I think he truly deserves to be. Robert Kraft deserves to be in there, but I'm not going to put him in the same league as Tom and Bill. Those two deserve it more than Robert Kraft, in my opinion. Right. Okay. No, I don't have anything there. Bad Dads at James, in case you missed it. I've still got this ready, in case you all missed it. So I still got her in the background, ready and waiting. I love you, baby, and if it's quite alright, I love you, baby. Ba-da-ba, I love you, baby. Da, 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 da. Oh, she came on my screen and I was like, whoa. Hey, pretty lady, you're the one I want. She is gorgeous. You're the one that I want. You are the one I want. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Honey, I don't even know what her name is, but it doesn't matter. She's gorgeous because she's gorgeous. And I'll do anything for you. Who is that? Oh, she's studying. She is studying. I don't know who she is. Do they say her name? Say my name. Say my name. Let me listen. Hang on. Leslie Lopez. Lopez. Leslie Lopez. Leslie Lopez. Oh yeah, Leslie Lopez, meteorologist. Hello, Sue. How are you doing, Sue? Oh, I'm loving it. Good. I'm glad. We're just trying to do something a little bit different. Say my name. Say my name, Leslie. Share screen. Here you go. Here she is. Here she is. Say my name. Say my name. You are very sexy, just a little maxi. Pop up. So yeah, Leslie Lopez, meteorologist, her name is. So right. Let me have another look. I'll keep that for later. Right. Let me take another look here a second. Bye bye, Miss America. Bye. Put the Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Let me go on YouTube for a second, see if there's something very short that we can. Ding dong, as Leslie Phillips used to say. Work is very overrated. Okay, let me do this then. Law. Okay, we got something here. Let's watch this then. Let's watch it. It's a little bit over, but let me do this. We might go a little bit over, but it's fine. I'll pay 1.25 actually, so we should be fine. 1.25. So this is a killer mum poisoned family at Thanksgiving dinner.
It's a shocking case out of the mountains of North Carolina. A restaurateur, a mom, accused of the unthinkable, killing her own daughter by poisoning. She's also accused of trying to do the same to her other daughter and her boyfriend at.
Show me your hoodie, please. I don't have a hoodie. I have a t-shirt on. My t-shirt says, "Someone in North Carolina loves me," and this is from Just Jugs. This is from Marilyn. Love JJ. Jersey Jen. She bought me this, and I wear it. Someone in North Carolina loves me.
Thanksgiving dinner. The woman at the center of this case appears to have been a fixture of the local foodie scene for years. So why would she allegedly try to take the lives of multiple people, her own family members? All of that remains a mystery. We're on the case, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Not only is the woman we're talking about today accused of a bizarre, and I mean bizarre in a very horrific way, a crime of allegedly trying to poison people with wine at Thanksgiving dinner, taking the life of her own daughter, allegedly. There's another layer to this story, and it has to do with this woman and a cold case murder that had been unsolved for roughly 20 years. So there's a lot to get to in this story. And before we get to this cold case part of it, I really need to build up the suspect in this case, a woman with a very interesting background who is now at the center of a very, very scary story. Now, this story is coming out of the beautiful landscape of Western North Carolina in the area of Asheville. Now, Asheville may be a city of only about 100,000 people, but it's really a cultural hub in the South. It's a place a lot of tourists like to flock to. There's great food, there are breweries, great music. It's the type of place you can definitely go have a great weekend to hang out. And one of the people who seems to have been trying to make it as a restaurateur in Asheville was a woman named Gudrun Casper Leinenkugel. Now, according to an article in the local paper, the Mountain Express, this was back in 2016, Gudrun, quote, and her group of managing partners began planning the Patton Public House in July 2013. And here are pictures that are still up from that restaurant. It's now closed, but this was their Instagram account. And in the article, Gudrun, the woman at the center of this case that we'll get to here in just a moment, she tells this story that she had been working since she was 13 years old, saying, quote, I owned a laundromat. I had to learn how to run the business and fix the machines. It was a good learning experience, she said. The article goes on to say that she has opened 6 restaurants and bars across the country. Now, it's unclear where those restaurants and bars were across the country. But in that article, Gudrun says that this restaurant that she was going to be opening, this public house in Asheville, it was inspired by the comfort food and beer supplied by the European public houses that she grew up with. She claims to have grown up spending time traveling between the US and Europe, between Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Germany. So the launch of this restaurant, the Patton Public House that Gudrun opened, it wasn't entirely smooth. According to WLOS TV, we found an article from around the same time as that other story from 2016 that came out about several employees quitting on the spot just a month into this restaurant opening, claiming that the restaurant wasn't paying their employees. Now, in the feature story, Gudrun said all of that was the fault of the payroll company. So as I'm bringing up these stories of the past, it is to really just help you understand this person at the center of what appears to be a very complex, very unusual, and very unique story that we're following. And at some point, it appears that there was a horrible turn that this woman, Gudrun, allegedly took. So let's talk about Thanksgiving 2025. So you have Gudrun, this restaurateur who hosted, according to prosecutors, a 12-person dinner. And the guests included members of her own family, as one would expect on Thanksgiving. And 2 of those family members were Gudrun's 2 daughters. One of them is the woman who you see here. Her name is Leila Livis. Now, Gudrun's other daughter, according to court records, is named Mia Lacey. And with her, according to police, at this dinner was her boyfriend, Richard Pegg. This is all according to court documents. Now, we don't have pictures of Mia and Richard at this time. So according to WHNS TV in North Carolina, at this Thanksgiving dinner, Gudrun offered her guests wine, and those guests drank it. And after dinner, 3 of the guests who drank from the same bottle just started not to feel well. And it wasn't the kind of sick that you might get after having a heavy turkey dinner. This was something much, much worse. Leila had to go to the hospital. That is how bad she was feeling after having this wine. And Mia and Richard, they also felt really, really sick. Whatever Leila had ingested killed her, according to law enforcement. She died on December 1st, roughly a week after Thanksgiving. As for Richard and Mia, they appear to be very lucky to be alive based on what we've learned was allegedly in that wine on Thanksgiving. According to law enforcement, an investigation revealed that the 3 consumed a chemical called acetonitrile. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, as well as the EPA, describes it as a clear, colorless liquid, and it can be used as a solvent for lithium batteries. And it is not something you want to
fucking muted. Congratulations. Thank you so much to Lovely, who has sent 3 coffees and says, in honor of my special day, because we can't share cake. Well, today's your birthday. Today's Patty's birthday as well. So, Patty and you having birthdays. So, I will sing you happy birthday in Welsh. Penblwydd hapus I ti, penblwydd hapus I ti, penblwydd hapus I Lovely / Crystal, penblwydd hapus I ti. So that's Crystal, Lovely and Patty, who are having the birthdays today. Both 21 again. Happy days. thank you so much for the coffee. It's lovely. I love the fact that we can see just jugs below it. If you see it. Oh, shit. I've pressed the wrong button. I do that sometimes. Oh, your birthday was yesterday. Oh, well, happy birthday for yesterday, my darling. Thank you so much for that. Happy days. I did not know that. So there you go, everybody. As I say, this just jugs at the bottom. Just being like, yep. There you go. And Patty's here as well. Yes, she is. So again, thank you, lovely, and hope you and Patty have, well, you know, obviously for yesterday, Christopher, you lovely, but today for Patty. So I'll take 41 again. I'll take anything again. Right. Thank you again. Right, let's get this sort of show back on the road there. I wanted to do that quickly. So thank you, lovely, because normally I miss lovely. So oh, you fucking go. Why is it doing this all the time?
Put in the human body. The agencies are very clear that this chemical, it is toxic and it can cause symptoms like headaches, nausea, and if a person consumes it, it can be fatal. This stuff is incredibly dangerous, and that is what was allegedly in this wine. So the question becomes, how could 3 people, daughters of the woman hosting this Thanksgiving dinner, ingest this harmful chemical that's often used with lithium batteries? Well, prosecutors at a hearing that was attended by local media say a review of Gudrun's search history provided an alleged answer to that. And very clearly, that search read, quote, "What happens if I ingest acetonitrile?" Prosecutors say that Gudrun searched that before the dinner. Now, Gudrun is facing charges for allegedly poisoning her own daughter to death. That is a murder charge, as well as trying to kill her other daughter and her boyfriend. Attempted murder charges. So she's facing charges of first-degree murder, as well as 2 counts of first-degree attempted murder and 3 counts of distribution of certain food and beverage prohibited. But we're not done yet, because those are not the only serious charges that this woman is now facing, because Gudrun is facing an additional charge of first-degree murder, and it has nothing to do with what happened less than a year ago on Thanksgiving 2025. We have the arrest warrant that accuses Gudrun of killing a man named Michael Schmidt back in 2007 in Henderson County, North Carolina, a community south of Asheville. Now, the date of Michael Schmidt's death, per the arrest warrant, the date of his alleged murder was October 29th, 2007. And according to Fox Carolina, Schmidt died in a house fire. But as deputies were investigating the alleged poisonings, they uncovered evidence that Gudrun allegedly killed Michael Schmidt nearly 20 years ago in 2007. Now, to this point, it's unclear what evidence deputies came across to make them believe that he didn't die in a house fire by accident, that he died because he was allegedly murdered. And the TV station reports that Schmidt died in the same house that Gudrun had been living in on Schmidt Terrace in Hendersonville, North Carolina. So here's a picture of Gudrun Casper Leinenkugel making an appearance from jail for a bond hearing. A judge denied Casper Leinenkugel's bond, and WHNS also reports that prosecutors told the court that she is being investigated for additional deaths that are currently under investigation. If found guilty, just based off the charges that she's facing right now, she could be eligible for the death penalty in North Carolina. I put Gudrun Casper Leinenkugel's name into truthfinder.com. We did see some previous addresses come up in the state of Wisconsin, which lines up with what she said in that feature article years ago, that she had ties out of the state of North Carolina. We do see a couple aliases for her, but no real criminal history, which is certainly interesting considering what she is accused of. Now, we partner with Truthfinder for the public record searches that we do here on Law and Crime. Truthfinder saves us. Check public records with Truthfinder now. Thanksgiving dinner part of it from 2025, and we'll talk about that. But he reportedly died in a house fire. Like, how could investigators, find evidence about, what would they need to prove to actually, I guess, find her guilty of a house fire, what they thought he died as a house fire in 2007. Now in this age, to be able to find evidence that would actually beyond a reasonable doubt convict her of something like that.
Well, first, Chris, thanks so much for having me back. I appreciate that. And to your question, the media accounts that we've seen about this investigation so far, and of course, it's incredibly new. Not that much has been released to this point, but we know that there was a search done, presumably of her home. We know there was a search done of her computers, her search history, and we'll talk about that in a minute, because that looks like it's going to be some pretty damning evidence in the Thanksgiving murder case. But we don't know what, if anything, they found in her home when they searched, right? We don't know what was found on her computer, if she had other sorts of search history, if there was physical evidence in her home. We don't know what that fire marshal report was about, what they thought was a house fire back in 2007 that may corroborate things that were found in her home. We don't know if there were potentially journals, diaries, things like that, evidence of a connection that she had to that person. So all of that remains to be seen at this point, but it would be my guess that whatever it was to tie her to it was probably found during the search of her home and or her belongings.
Yeah, and the victim in 2007, his name is Michael Schmidt, and he died according to what local media has been able to dig up about the 2007 case, he died in the home where Gurdon Casper Leinenkugel is currently living on Schmidt Terrace in Hendersonville, North Carolina. So that is the scene where this house fire allegedly took place. Turning to Thanksgiving 2025, and the evidence that we know about at this point is that there's this very toxic chemical that can be fatal that was in the wine that was drank by the 3 people there. And then you have the search history where she allegedly searched, what happens if someone consumes this? You hear that on the outside and you say, this is a pretty slam dunk case. How does a defense attorney take on something like that?
Well, that is extremely strong evidence for the state, for sure. Those Google searches, I've seen plenty of cases where that pops up to bite a defendant in a really big way. I think with the defense, and it's interesting. I noticed when I was reviewing the file that she doesn't have a lawyer yet. Apparently, she has waived appointed counsel, seeking to hire her own, which is odd. Usually judges will go ahead and appoint a capital defender in a first-degree murder case here in North Carolina. And then if the defendant wants to hire an attorney, they're certainly welcome to. But in order to make sure someone's rights are preserved from the very get-go, the judge will usually go ahead and appoint someone. So it was a little bit odd that she wasn't appointed a lawyer, because it doesn't seem as if she's going to be getting out of.
Okay, well, we'll follow that if and when it comes up, because it seems pretty slam dunk. The court is in session, so that's why I stopped there. We'll go to the court and see what they're going to say. Hang on, which one is it? This one, let me boost it then.
That's slow to stale, so apologize for that. With that in mind, anything the state needs to put on the record before we bring the jury out? Mr. Williams?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so Discovery Purchasing, would you each give a copy to
Your Honor,
each side?
after the instructions, of course, going to go about 20 in the way you read.
Oh shit, this is a jury. So the sentencing's going to be done by jury. Oh.
And then the states, could we have a 10-minute recess so that I can make sure my media is hooked up and working?
Oh, after the state's done their opening?
Their first opening.
Oh, yeah, I'll just tell the jury that we're just going to make sure that your media is working.
Instead of actually have a recess.
Pardon? You want to have a formal recess?
Just a little bit, because I also like to use the restroom.
All right. Any objection, Mr. Watabi?
As long as it's short.
All right. So no more than 10 minutes.
No, 5 minutes would be okay.
All right. I'll just tell them we're going to make sure that your tech is working, and then we'll go from there. All right. Let's bring up the jury. And I'll explain to the jury that between traffic and copy machines that threw us way behind, that we stayed late last night. We came in early today. And
Okay, what the fuck's going on? So the jury are doing the sentencing. Wow, okay.
Oh, yes, counsel. So there's a request from the media that I granted that when the jury reads their verdict, whatever time that is today, that they can video the defendant and his attorneys at that point.
All rise for the jury.
Thank you. Please be seated. Let me explain what happened, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. We stayed late last night, about an hour and a half later, myself and the attorneys working on matters for today. We had some homework that they were sending to the court. We came in early this morning, which was the plan, but there was an accident on the freeway.
I can't fucking believe it. Fucking muted. Bollocks. I'm just saying, James, I do not believe Utah Saints. I've never heard of that band name before. I will take a look, Katie, as well. But I did not realize that we are going to be covering a sentence with a jury. I did not realize this. So glad we went through stuff earlier on. But yeah, this is a proper. So he must be facing. Well, not must be, but he might be facing the death penalty. Maybe, I don't know. Pure speculation on my behalf. 90s rave. Oh, I'm not into rave. I'll be honest with you, James. I'm not into rave. So okay. So this could be a. Yeah, I did not realize we were doing this today. So today's going to be a bit of a longer stream. So this makes me having a day off tomorrow even better. So there we go. We strap it in. We strap it on. I should put this at the change the title of this stream. So hang on whilst I try and change some stuff, because with IDV Delbert v Delbert Cornish. No, do you know what I'm going to do? Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to separate this. I'm going to do another stream. We'll stay on here for a second. I'm going to do a second stream, people, because my chat has just gone bust as well. So I will redirect this, but I'm going to do one. We're not going anywhere until I've done it. So hang on. Let me just do this. I'm going to start another stream because I think it's more sensible to do so. So bear with me whilst I do this, because I can do it very quickly. Because everyone says I can do things quickly. So let me just do this. Do that. Put that in there. That's what she said. Put it in there. Then I will change this in here. Live stream there, because it might attract some more people to come and watch us. So that's why I want to do it this way. So that there, that there, that there. If I go into live streaming here, edit that there, put that in there, then put this in here, then that like that, and then I need to get just a quick thing, Delbert Cornish. I need to put this thing in here, Delbert Cornish. Oh, I need to find it first. Sometimes it can be quite difficult to find it. Delbert Cornish. Put that off. Leslie, no. Delbert Cornish. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Oh, shit, right. Then I'll go in here. Canva. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Beep, 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 beep. Make a copy of that. Go in here. Drag this, take this out, that out. Put that in there. Is it going to be good enough? Yeah, that'll be fine. No, actually it's not, because it's not a very good photo. Let me go in here then instead. Oh, it's only that one. There's no anybody else. What if I do it this way then? Do it that way? No. I think we'll just leave it like that. Delbert Cornish. And if I copy and paste this. So it's Idaho. Idaho, ho, ho. We all know an Idaho, ho, ho. We will be going to space, people. We will be going to space. I'll also post a link here, so you got that. But we will be going to space in a second. I just need to create this thumbnail. I love to create a thumbnail. Let me make sure this is going to work. No, put this here. make this bigger. That'd be a nice one if you could just make things bigger. Okay, got that. What's his name? What's his name? What's his name? His name is Delbert Cornish. He's a mofo. Delbert Cornish. Oh, fuck, wrong one. Oh, shit. Wrong one again. Do you hate you when you get in the wrong place? Share this one. No, I need to go back. Delbert Cornish, Idaho, Sanderson. Share this bad boy. Download it. Download. StreamYard this bad boy again. Schedule for later, which is, what is it now? 7. So 15:05:05, which is now upload thumbnail. There, apply it. Okay, create live stream. Okay, I'm just waiting for it to, right, okay. View on YouTube. Let me get a link for all of you. And then I will put it into Thingamajig as well, so that you get zoomed over there. Let's go into analytics. Let's set it up first. Right, so there's that. Customization, live stream, subscribers, 10 minutes. 10 minutes there. Done that one. Turn monetization. Edit it. Then I go there. Medium frequencies. Good. Then what I'm going to do is go into here, content, live. I'm going to do that like that. I'm going to go like that. Customization to it. Redirect, yes, please. To this one, yes, please. Thank you. Save. And then go back. Right, so here you go. This is that is a new link, but you will take you straight over there. So you should be able to go straight over there. Right, let's get over there. I'll see you all there. Say my name.